Kim Hyun-woo is stuck in the tutorial tower, and now, while all the other newcomers run from the final boss in fear, he's bored. He already defeated this Balrog hundreds of times and now wants to play. He brings the boss to the ground in seconds and defeats him with his one foot, mocking him and asking who's the most manly boss here. Still, this win doesn't give Hyun-woo any satisfaction, because after this he returns to the first level of the tower again. It all started one day when monsters appeared all over the world, and along with them appeared a huge tutorial tower, where humans can gain superpowers and become hunters, but only if they can survive and clear all 100 floors. On average, less than 10% of players manage to clear it at all. Hyun-woo is one of the first players who enter the tower. Together, they fight bravely. And after the final battle ends, our hero's party receives the long-awaited notification. The tutorial tower is cleared. Everyone is overjoyed, because this means they will finally be able to return home. After a long time inside the tower, Kim Hyun-woo wants to see clear sky above, but fate has other plans for him, and instead he gets teleported back to the first floor. He's shocked and doesn't understand what's going on. Why is he stuck here when everyone else is free? That's when he receives a notification that he has been cursed by the tower and cannot leave it. After a period of denial and anger, Hyun-woo starts clearing the tower again and again. He starts to explore possible ways that could set him free. He clears the tower solo from beginning to end. Then he clears it 10 times in a row. He even strengthens his body to the limit. But even after completing all of that, nothing works. He is still trapped. Hyun-woo continues clearing the tower repeatedly, hoping to find a way to break the curse. Time passes, and he spends years inside this place, clearing it thousands of times. While new players take months to finish the tower, our boy can complete it in a day, or even a few hours. Eventually, he becomes so bored that he tries acting like an NPC guiding newcomers, or like a coach, or even playing wicked games with the final boss. But that becomes boring too. So Hyun-woo keeps clearing the tower solo, mastering all his skills to their absolute limits. It gets to the point where, with a single kick on floor 1, he can literally blast through 10 floors. After 12 long years in the tower, he finally gets a system notification. He has broken the loop and now can escape from the tower. Laughing like a maniac, he launches forward to clear the tower one last time. He shoots upward like a missile, crushing floors in his path. He's the real boss of the tower now. Even the monsters fear him. On the final floor, Hyun-woo destroys the boss and the entire rooftop of the tower, then steps into the portal that finally sends him outside. He can't contain his joy and screams like crazy. He's finally free. Meanwhile, the authorities observing the tower are shocked when they discover that a player from the very first group summoned into the tower in 2006 has finally escaped after 12 years. A few weeks later, our boy is invited to the evaluation test for new hunters who have just cleared the tower. Among the guild leaders sponsoring the trial are his old teammates, the ones who cleared the tower with him for the very first time. All of them are eager to see what kind of monster Hyun-woo has become after 12 years inside the tower. At the waiting room of the great evaluation test taker, everyone is all ready with their basic equipment. Meanwhile, our boy is busy eating snacks. Once his stomach is filled, he wonders what this equipment is. This is when he realizes that he didn't get any of them because he fell asleep earlier, while the other guys got them in the morning. Right then, the announcement takes place for soon-to-be hunters to get out of the waiting room and go to the location where the test will take place. Now at the Seoul Tutorial Center Grade Evaluation Maze, David, an A-grade hunter, welcomes all the junior hunters, informing them all that the evaluation test has begun and he will be their supervisor. The supervisor reminds them all that the world is watching them right now. With a grin, he assures all the hunters to not worry, since compared to the tutorial tower, this exam is simple. While David states that he is looking forward to seeing all the hunters' potential as they risked their lives in the tutorial tower, Hyun-woo is literally yawning, not listening to a single word. Right then, the supervisor announces that the first exam is beginning. At that very moment, he taps something on his phone. Instantly, the ground begins to tremble. Alternatively, David explains that there are different kinds of difficult situations that they have to go through as a hunter, but one of them is the maze. The moment these words leave his mouth, dangerous and huge metal rods fall from above, slamming into the ground and forming an actual maze. David instructs all the hunters that this maze has many traps. Though it is a move-in notification, it will be good if they utilize their abilities fully. Just then, a 30-second countdown begins, signaling that the exam will start as soon as the timer reaches 0. The hunters have to use their abilities and escape to the exit of the maze. The moment the countdown ends, all the hunters rush towards the entrance. The supervisor observing this smiles, as all the hunters this time are very well-mannered, and by looking at their appearance, the thought of his own first-grade exam comes up. He reflects on the most important thing, which is for the hunters to keep the original resolution. At that moment, the hero is still standing at the starting point, left behind while everyone else rushes ahead. He calls out to the supervisor, whom he nonchalantly calls Uncle, and confirms if he really has to reach the exit somehow. Upon hearing it, David frowns, judges our boy for his pathetic appearance, and wonders where his provided equipment is. When he notices Hyun-woo yawning, he is startled, because is this how newcomers act? At this point, David starts to doubt whether this guy is even taking the exam seriously. Curious, the supervisor asks the protagonist if he finds these hunter exams trivial. Smirking and emphasizing the word uncle, Hyun-woo suggests the supervisor act like this in front of the noisy guy who uses all their willpower to run. These words make David livid, but the hero grins and makes a bet with him. He'll clear the whole thing within 20 seconds, and if he does, he will get 100,000 won. David is taken aback by these words, but he is egoistic, so he agrees with it, confessing that his 1 day's pay and the overtime allowance as a supervisor is 1 million won. Rushing towards the entrance, the hero warns David to not change his mind later. Now, in front of the entrance wall, Hyun-woo places his hand, being shocked that the supervisor is getting such great pay. While thinking this, he gathers all his energy in his arm. Everyone, including David and the top guild leaders of South Korea, who are watching the exam from the observation screen, wonders what our boy is doing near the wall. Before they could understand it, the protagonist punches the wall. The intensity is so much that it literally creates a hole in the whole maze, and smoke covers the entire place. Within a few seconds, as the smoke settled, our guy was standing at the exit on the opposite side. It was obviously a forcibly made exit, but he literally confirmed with the supervisor that they have to reach the exit anyhow. Everyone goes crazy witnessing this. They are more surprised by his grade measurement. The top guild leaders of South Korea are amazed but also kind of pissed by our boy's stubbornness. In contrast, Hyun-woo is on cloud 9 as he has won 1 million, but his face twists with panic when he looks behind him and sees the destruction he has caused. He wonders if the authority will be asking for its compensation. 24 hours before the Hunter Rank Assessment competition, at the Live Hunter's office, Jun-sung has confirmed the list of contestants participating in the test. Though her colleague wonders aloud if they can expect anything from the test this time, Sung understands immediately he meant the gossip about the advanced hunter. However, finding information about him is pretty hard. Other than our boy, a guy who is a backup hunter and was trained in the traditional martial arts world is coming too. Since it was not confirmed if the advanced hunter will come, they have this traditional martial artist, Kang Hyun, as the backup. Kang Hyun is a guy who has many abilities and skills, so luck is always on his side. With his weapon, he easily knocks out deadly creatures. Right from the start, Kang Hyun has gotten too much attention and respect, as he has always been successful. But this is what he thought, until he encountered Hyun-woo. This guy met the hero when he was clearing the tutorial tower one last time to escape this shithole. Though Kang was able to get back safely, he understood how pathetic he was. Since our boy was being so wild that he pushed everyone who came in his way, including Kang Hyun, as he was so desperate to get out. Going back to the present, the first exam was successful for Kang. Now, everyone is requested to go back to the waiting room and stay there until another announcement is made. Simultaneously, at the observation room, all the onlookers were curious, as they wanted to see how our guy actually destroyed the place. The authorities are pretty annoyed, as they want to see a clear picture as well, but whenever they take a clear picture, it is always Lee Kang's. In the waiting area, all the hunters are talking about the current situation. Rumor has already been spread that it has been done by the advanced player. Kang Hyun is also sitting here, being aware that the exam is not over yet, so he still has a chance to see Hyun-woo's performance. Though he vows to himself to not lose to our boy, who is literally so sleepy that it feels like he has done drugs or something. An announcement echoes in the waiting area, stating that the order of events for today's ranking contest has been changed. The competition will restart in 15 minutes, and all participants are advised to get ready for the next round. Now, the assessment event includes a monster wave. By using virtual training monsters created by combining spirit stones from monsters and the latest technology, the goal is to evaluate how many monsters are defeated by the junior hunters in a given time. It is true that Kang is a very skilled hunter, as he is very focused on knocking out the monsters. With infusing bolting light in his weapon, he strikes at the creatures, defeating them effortlessly. All the observers are shocked to see this, because this guy just escaped the tower, but already has magical abilities. They all realize that a genius is surrounding them, and it is all unreal. Not stopping for a single moment, this martial artist continuously uses a series of electricity streams and defeats all the monsters who come his way. As the time gets up, it is announced that Kang has killed 78 monsters. This is by far the highest score achieved by an examinee to date. That being said, Kang proudly smiles, while everyone else is impressed by his combat and magic skills, believing that he is worthy of his reputation as a top candidate. People believe that even earlier he would have finished first if the advanced player didn't pull that move. Now it is our boy's turn to face the monster wave. Yawning, Hyun-woo states how tired he is of all of this, but obviously he has no other choice. The top guild leader, Seokwan Han, suggests the other two guild leaders come and watch this, as he wants to see how Hyun-woo's fighting style has evolved. Upon entering the exam venue, Hyun-woo is given a time of 120 seconds, and the exam begins now. The 10-second countdown starts before the exam begins. The moment the countdown ends, the giant beast raises its hammer-like weapon to attack our boy. Unfazed, Hyun-woo remains at his place, and in that instant, uses his strong fist to knock out the monster. Everyone's jaw drops after catching sight of this. The authorities confirm if the cameraman got it on the camera, because it is pure cinema. Seeing this, the other deadly creatures get angry, and they lunge towards our boy, roaring and shrieking. However, they don't get the chance to harm even a single hair on the hero's body, because he knocks them all out with the same earlier technique. Now 56 seconds are remaining, but to everyone's surprise, the advanced player has disappeared while the monsters' heads are blowing up by themselves. All the observers wonder if this is a magic spell or something, though Seokwon thinks that it is not a magic spell or something, because if they look closely, they can see the silhouette of a person moving as fast as the speed of light around the monsters. Hyun-woo just runs up to the monster, punches it, and defeats it. Just like that, he finds a new target and repeats the same action. Our boy is not using any high-level skill but is moving so quickly that it looks like the monsters are blowing up by themselves. Seo Seoyeon Lee is awestruck, wondering aloud if such movements are even possible without enhancement, while Soo-hyun Kim is puzzled about what the protagonist has been up to in the tower. Whenever Si-haeun heard any rumors, he always ignored them, but seeing him in person makes them all realize that Hyun-woo has become a real beast. After 120 seconds, the announcer stutters, but once he announces that Hyun-woo has killed 248 monsters, this news goes viral. It is literally trending everywhere. Some people are questioning whether the video is even real, while others are amazed by it. A few can't hide their jealousy. In short, social media turns into complete chaos. Seeing all the tweets and posts, Kang literally breaks his phone in half. Enraged, he punches the wall with such force that cracks instantly spread across it. Kang states that he worked so hard and even pushed himself to hunt even when others were being lazy. Additionally, he stole people's kills, knowing they would hate him. He literally used all the cheap tricks and struggled so much. Thus, he can't digest the fact that Hyun-woo is going viral worldwide. Pressing forward, Alice, who works as the chief of the Korean Hunter Association Information Division, meets the protagonist face to face. She hands him the list of guilds that want to meet him. With that, Alice congratulates our boy for getting out of the tower after 12 years. In addition to that, she explains to the hero that many things have changed since the tower first appeared. Elaborating, she informs that the monsters that originate from labyrinths and dungeons are very scary, but with great risks come great rewards. And because the Hunters Guild is interested in recruiting talented hunters, they will be rewarded with large prizes. At the same time, Hyun-woo is not listening to a damn word, thinking in his heart about what to have in his next meal. Alice, not being aware of this, assumes that our boy is confused. However, the protagonist asks her if explaining all this is a part of her job. Giving him a warm smile, Alice confesses that she came here for personal reasons. She wanted to meet the advanced player that everyone was talking about. Also, she wanted to share Ares Guild contracts regarding a member's rights and duties, revised edition. She suggests our guy read the contract clause regarding the signing bonus. Puzzled, Hyun-woo reads the first clause, which states that once both parties have signed the membership agreement, the member will be receiving a huge amount. Sweat trickles down the protagonist's face as he glances at Alice. Meanwhile, the woman asks the boy how he would feel to hold a contract worth 10 billion won. Hyun-woo looks at Alice with uncertainty, questioning when their currency's value dropped so drastically and if the country had gone through hyperinflation like Zimbabwe. Just then, Alice explains that things were pretty messed up because of monsters, but there were no financial issues, though the prices of land increased. She informs him that the price of the place where he lived has also changed. Right then, she hands him the details. Hyun-woo's eyes widened with surprise because his house's value got raised from 3 million won to 1.3 billion won. The look of nausea on his face makes Alice realize that this guy is worrying about his finances. Thus, she assures him that he shouldn't worry about all of that, as the 10 billion won is just a signing bonus. The information officer mentions that Ares Guild is agreeing to pay him 2 times the current signing bonus, only if he renews with them at the end of this contract. Finding it unbelievable, the hero's face turns pale. Meanwhile, Alice continues explaining that he will be sharing the spoils he acquires in the labyrinth with the guild. However, he will understand that the distribution ratio is in his favor. Grinning, Hyun-woo confirms with Alice if guild contracts are also a part of her role as an information officer. Alice admits that she has some personal relations, and the recruiter from the Ares Guild insisted she share this with Hyun-woo. However, deep down, the protagonist recalls that it is illegal to make contract offers to people still housed by the association. At that very moment, Alice is about to assure him to take time to decide, but Hyun-woo interrupts her, clarifying that he has made up his mind and was never planning to join any guild, as he knows that no guild interests him. At first, the information officer thinks that the protagonist is joking, but Hyun-woo is very clear that he doesn't want to get tied up by a guild or its activities. He is very well aware that these 10 billion won wouldn't be given to him for fun, as this world runs on the rule of give and take. Obviously, when he gets the signing bonus, he will be given tons of things. Now, lying on his bed, Hyun-woo chuckles after having all his snacks. He loves living like this, and doing things according to his own rules and ways. While chilling, he gets a flashback of Alice asking him if he has no interest in being a hunter. Hyun-woo explains that he heard about hunters who work alone. Hearing that, the information officer realizes that he is talking about mercenary hunters, though she reveals that those guys have already taken the experience of working in guilds, and it is impossible for an inexperienced hunter to venture alone in a labyrinth. With pride, Hyun-woo began to leave, assuring her that he will do it. Calling him arrogant, Alice tells him to keep in mind to contact her after he changes his mind. Back in reality, Hyun-woo thinks that meeting Alice was a waste of time. He could have used that time to get some much-needed sleep instead. All those thoughts annoy him so much that he cannot sleep now. Hence, Hyun-woo goes through the list of guilds that want to meet him. The protagonist finds it a waste of time, but then he gets shocked when he sees the names of the top 3 guild leaders of South Korea in that list. 5 days later, on the final day of the protection period for new hunters, our boy meets Seokwan, Seoyeon, and Shi-hyun at a Japanese restaurant in the Mokdong neighborhood. It has been so long that the hero is way too surprised to see them all grown up. While Seokwan feels like a grown-up man to him, the high school nerd Shi-hyun has turned into a good-looking guy. On the other hand, Seoyeon has completely changed too. Looking at Shi-hyun, our boy recalls that he is the same guy who cowered behind his back all the way to the 50th floor, while Seoyeon peed her pants when she saw Banshee. However, the girl activated her beast mode, warning our guy to not utter any more words. Enjoying sushi, Hyun-woo admits that it is nice meeting them. Also, he loves the taste of this food. That being said, Shi-hyun reminds him of the time when they defeated the merman on the 17th floor, and Hyun-woo went on and on about how much he missed eating sushi. By now, the protagonist recalls all of it. This was the time when our boy went all berserk. The 3 of them explain that whenever the urban legends about him leaked outside, they all were happy that he was alive. Unaware about all of it, Hyun-woo asks for the details. Thus, they explain that our guy has become a celebrity, and whatever he has done in the tower was all mentioned on TV. Upon receiving this information, sweat trickles down Hyun-woo's face with embarrassment, since he realizes that his role-playing was revealed in front of everyone. The protagonist wonders which one specifically was on TV. He just hopes it is not the one where he cleared the dungeon in the nude, or when he cleared the dungeon pretending to be a golem. Though the guild leaders inform him that the most famous ones are when he went around defeating bosses while doing a weird dance and smashing his way through 10 floors with one kick. While Hyun-woo gets a little relieved hearing this, Shi-hyun is genuinely curious about what his friend was up to in the tower. Hyun-woo recalls dancing in front of the boss monster. Even the monster stood there dumbfounded, but our boy just wanted to try it in order to escape the place. Also, when it came to breaking through 10 floors, he got so frustrated that he simply jumped as high as he could, and that's how he ended up there. Seoyeon admits that watching him at the assessment made her realize how much power he has gotten, and after hearing these stories directly from him, there is no doubt. However, Hyun-woo believes that anyone could have done it, because once someone gets trapped in a place, they do anything to get out of there. Though, the hero then realizes that his students must have gotten out as well. It is true that he has no idea which generation they are from, but it was when he was between floors 50 and 60. Someone was left behind in the tower. When Hyun-woo sensed some presence, he searched around and found a kid. With his role-playing skills, he decided to guide the lost soul. At that particular time, Hyun-woo was fixated on the idea of martial arts. Thus, he took the kid under his wing and trained him. At first, Seokwan is confused, so the protagonist explains that he is talking about when someone is trapped somewhere but becomes enlightened and escapes, just like the stuff in comics and novels. Hyun-woo thought if he gets enlightened, then maybe he will escape. As a result of it, he literally trained him and pushed all his limits. The protagonist made him work out and mocked and taunted him for stopping. He used to tell the guy to focus his mind on his lower abdomen to bring out his inner energy. However, the thing Hyun-woo was aware of was strength only, so now that he thinks of it, he feels bad for that guy. Hyun-woo doesn't reveal it, but back then he was an actual jerk, so he is relieved that he wore a mask all that time, as he doesn't want to run into that guy once again. Just then, the hero asks all 3 top guild leaders about how the world has been for the past 12 years. Hearing the questions, everyone falls silent. Back at his place, Hyun-woo checks his status window, noticing that his age is mentioned as 24 instead of 36, making him realize that he actually lost 12 years in this world. Now that it is done, it cannot be changed, so our boy decides to earn a decent amount of money and live life happily, with no regrets. Although his gaze darts at the floating message of the endless loop being removed. Curious, Hyun-woo presses that option. Right then, he gets a notification to defeat at least 3 dungeon bosses to satisfy the minimum requirements to move on to the next level. The dungeon conquest objective includes Adorab's Laboratory, Woodland Village, and Swamp View. Before Hyun-woo could understand what the hell was going on, he heard a knock on his door. Upon opening the door, the security guard greets our boy, informing him that there are some recruiters from the Ares Guild who have come to meet him. Not being interested, the hero refuses the guard, but looking worried, the guard requests him to come with him, as the recruiter instructed the poor man to bring Hyun-woo. It is pretty obvious that these guys won't stop until Hyun-woo makes it clear to them, so he heads for the lounge on the first floor, as that is where they are waiting. Byung-ho Kang, the Ares Guild Human Resources Manager, greets our boy. But instead of beating around the bush, the protagonist reminds him that he is way too clear about having no intention to join any guild. However, the resources manager of Ares Guild challenges Hyun-woo if he really believes he will be a successful hunter without this guild. Byung-ho tries to tempt him by reminding him of all the things he will get once he joins the guild. Not being afraid, the hero suggests the manager not threaten him. The bodyguard standing behind Byung-ho grows angry at such arrogant behavior, but Byung-ho quickly stops him before he can react, suggesting Hyun-woo not do anything reckless, as he has no idea who the Ares Guild is. Smirking, our boy acknowledges that they are a bunch of jerks that gobbled up half of Korea. Right then, Hyun-woo gets a flashback of the meeting with the top 3 guild leaders of South Korea. They already informed our guy that the Ares Guild has a monopoly on over 66% of their country's dungeon. Among them are A-rank dungeons ideal for farming and beginner-friendly D-rank ones. They've heard the place is backed by foreign capital with plenty of money to spend. Additionally, for a beginner to get experience and for a professional to earn, they have to either purchase the expensive admission ticket or be an Ares member. Basically, this guild is forcing people, as they know that the people here don't have much of a choice. His thoughts are interrupted when the bodyguard slams his hand on the table. The intensity of the force is so much that bright energy envelops the room. At that moment, Byung-ho warns our guy to not run his mouth just because they are at the association residence and tells him to think very carefully about this proposal. The baldy bodyguard who slammed his hand on the table slams it on the wall, while the resources manager makes Hyun-woo understand that he needs to grasp the situation, as this bodyguard's overall stats are enough to make him a grade A hunter. Thus, he suggests the hero not make any rash decisions because he would be dead in front of this guy. Sighing with a grin and standing up, our boy raises his slipper and challenges the baldy to come to him since he is ready to knock some sense into his bald head. This insult makes the Hulk angry, and he charges forward, but he is slammed on the wall within seconds, unable to move. Witnessing this, Byung-ho recalls that they all literally made a script to threaten our guy and make him so demotivated as to make him sign the contract, but everything went wrong. Standing there, the resources manager is shocked, because Hyun-woo cannot even use magic, but still he has unmatchable strength. With a sly smirk, our boy approaches Byung-ho and corners him. Just then, with his torn slipper, he smacks the bully, clarifying that he hates those people who threaten him. That night, at Soo-hyun's place, Hyun-woo spills the tea. Though the guild leader is impressed, he is a little taken aback too because these Ares guys are relentless, and no one dares to pick a fight with them. Soo-hyun informs the protagonist that they send threats to prevent him from joining other guilds. Also, they can silence him inside the labyrinths. While having strawberries, Hyun-woo wonders what being silent means. Soo-hyun elaborates that they will kill him. The hero finds it brutal. Thus, the guild leader suggests he join his guild considering whatever has been happening. Still, Hyun-woo is not okay with joining any guild. Though it is true that he wants to take it easy, right now he has to take care of something, so he decided to put a hold on it for a while. Additionally, with a grin, he asks Soo-hyun if by any chance he heard of Aderon's laboratory. For the whole 12 years, it was a mystery why Hyun-woo was the one who was left behind for 12 years. He had so many questions. Who made this tower? Who locked him up? And what not? Hence, his aim is to find out the tower's secret and who locked him there because once he finds that out, he will make them suffer. Alternatively, Soo-hyun wonders why Hyun-woo is interested in Aderon's laboratory all of a sudden. Soo-hyun reveals that Aderon's laboratory is either an AC or an AC- rank dungeon based in Uijeongbu. In addition to that, he also heard that it is a good place for new hunters to grow powerful. Out of curiosity, Soo-hyun demands to know the reason behind this interrogation. But our boy doesn't reveal the entire truth, confessing that he has some business there. Though, Soo-hyun gives him a heads up that he probably won't be allowed there, as the Res Guild is abusing their exclusive rights to the dungeons, and Aderon is one of those dungeons. Receiving this piece of information, Hyun-woo gets way too frustrated by these thugs, because why are there no laws to prevent monopolies? The guild leader reminds the hero that the government has no time for all, since hunters hold no real voting power. Only a small number of people ever clear the tutorial tower to become one. The dungeons are so dangerous that even the police can't investigate properly, often labeling the deaths that occur there as accidents. Hyun-woo finds it all crap, But on a surface level, Ares is the leader of a rising industry that contributes a healthy amount of taxes, and any situation involving hunters is too delicate for outside powers to interfere. At this point, the protagonist decides to sneak in, and if there is proper guarding going on, then he will face them head-on. Shi-hyun warns him that if he does something stupid, Ares will become his enemy, but it is too late to think about all of that, as our boy already showed his colors to the resources manager of that bullshit guild. On the flip side, Seonu Hook, an S-rank hunter and manager of the Korean branch of the Ares Guild, is discussing the expansion of the guild. In China it will take at least 5 months, in Russia it will take 8 months, and as for Japan, 7 months. Seonu doesn't care if it is time-taking, as what matters is that they stay one step ahead of the pack. Just like when a farming monster kills, you don't have to be faster than the dungeon boss, just faster than the person next to you. With that, the manager's men hand him Hyunwoo's stat level. They used footage of our boy's movement in the tutorial zone to produce an estimate of his levels using a trial analytical device. Byung-guk Yu, head of the Human Resources Department of Ares Guild, explains that he had his doubts, but the department's analysis shows the margin of error should be no more than a single grade difference. That being said, Seonu asks if they have recruited this guy, but seeing the hesitation in his men's faces, he understands that they failed to do that. In that instant, he announces that they are better off without that guy. He acknowledges that he is a guy with great capabilities, and they will earn many profits with Hyunwoo's presence, but that guy would be coming after their positions, so they should forget about recruiting him, and instead teach him some manners. Right then, a man runs towards Byung-guk Yu, panting heavily, informing him that there is an emergency at the Aderon laboratory. In Uijeongbu, Cheombo Mountain, at the entrance to Aderon's laboratory, a C-rank dungeon, a girl in a tempting way begs the guys guarding the place to let her in, but these thugs suggest she go to the labyrinth, as those have low-level monsters. At first the thugs claim that they are guys of rules, but then they start creeping up. At that exact moment, our guy approached them. The thugs warned him to leave, informing him that this place is not for passing time, as this place has real and scary monsters. Getting near these thugs, our boy tells them that this is exactly why he's here. He has some business to take care of inside this dungeon. The Ares Guild thug calls our hero crazy for calling him an idiot. Hyunwoo silently picks up his slippers to teach the players a lesson for being so rude. Smiling, he walks closer to one of them. The man bursts into anger and tries to tell him that he belongs to the Ares Guild. However, our protagonist doesn't care about any guild. He takes his slipper, and with just a simple strike, the man flies into the wall. Seeing his fellow knocked out cold, the other fighter starts panicking. Our protagonist asks the other one for his shoes. The man gets confused, and Hyun threatens to open his eyes too. The man, trembling in fear, complies. As soon as our protagonist wears the new shoes, he's amazed by how light the metal shoes are. The Ares Guild player cries about having lost his expensive shoes made with magic. However, our generous hero, after seeing the man's bare feet, gives him his slippers and walks out. Our hero walks through the gate, and the Ares thugs are left crying. Meanwhile, Seo-yeon screams at Shi-hyun for letting our protagonist just go. But Shi-hyun explains that he had no choice because Hyunwoo just walked out freely. She starts panicking, worrying about the ruthless Ares Guild. Shi-hyun explains he told our hero about that, but he just went out, and no one can actually stop him. Seo-yeon is left speechless and asks Shi-hyun if our hero has really made enemies with the Ares Guild. From what our hero told him, Shi-hyun is sure about the rivalry now. Shi-hyun doesn't think that Hyunwoo is the kind of person who'd end up in trouble by just staying still. However, once he becomes someone's enemy, as long as the enmity is there, Hyunwoo's twisted side will come out. Shi-hyun doesn't understand how things got complicated, but he assures Seo-yeon that she doesn't need to worry about our hero because when they were talking about the Ares Guild, Hyunwoo's ranking came up. However, Seo-yeon is left speechless when Shi-hyun tells her about our hero's ranking. Meanwhile, our hero continues his journey through the dungeon, and suddenly, a monster starts searching for his research materials. The C-rank dungeon boss Aderon continues looking for more research samples. Some fighters observe him from the distance, talking about the rumor that people don't earn much by fighting Aderon, which is why the Ares Guild didn't bother fighting him. The fighters start thinking if they should really fight the boss. Since they got in by bribing, one of them suggests fighting him. However, the girl wonders if their abilities can even match the lab boss, because usually, people fight as a guild. The other guy adds that he noticed that Aderon had high defense power and low attack power, so he suggests taking time to defeat the boss. With a workable strategy, the group decides to go. They unify to go against the boss but also make it clear to escape once there is danger. Right then, they see our hero walk in to face Aderon. Hyunwoo stands before the lab boss fearlessly. Adoron starts laughing, thinking about where to start on his research subject, and decides to ask our hero instead. 12 years ago when our hero was young, his cousin told him to not make trouble and advised him to listen to his teacher. He left little Hyun-woo at an orphanage after his parents' death in an accident and stole his inheritance. Maybe it's because of his disappointment in people that Hyun-woo is okay until someone tries to manipulate him. Once someone becomes his enemy, he'd bring out his worst side and hold a grudge for a long time. Adoran starts playing with his needle, laughing about where to start from. He asks our hero where to start from, but Hyun-woo orders him to stop. The lab boss is shocked to see a mere human order him. But then, our hero punches the monster, leaving the group behind shocked. The monster falls, and our hero walks out like a boss. With the Adoran's lab mission completed, our hero heads out for the forest village next. The hunter group watching from behind recognizes Hyun-woo as the advanced player, and seeing him in person like that just gives them goosebumps. Meanwhile, at the Aries Guild Korean branch, the HR manager visits the manager at the Korea Management Department, Woo Chun-myung. He hands over a file to Chun-myung and asks if the branch manager, Hyuk Sun-woo, has given them any instructions. The manager reads the file, and seeing the 2 A-rank stats on a rookie hunter's file makes him wonder if the stats are accurate. The HR answers that the results aren't fully accurate and it's just a temporary analysis. Even then, Chun-myung can't help but be impressed by our hero's monster-like stats. The HR tells the manager that the order is to only moderately hurt Hyun-woo, but doing more wouldn't be a problem. The manager knows the extra instructions are the HR's wish. But the HR explains how our hero jumped into their exclusive dungeon and attacked the hunters protecting the dungeon at that time. Chun-myung assures his fellow manager that our hero will not even put a scratch on their guild. However, he wants to take care of things quietly because the branch manager already has a lot to deal with due to their advancement in China. On top of all that, even the management is supportive of these actions due to the Tyrant Guild. The new Tyrant Guild in China, in their 2 years of establishment, has monopolized 52% of all dungeons in China. Just 4 years after coming out of the tower, their guild leader grew Tyrant into a giant guild, and every single one of the leaders is known to be monstrously strong. The most surprising part is that the identity of the Tyrant Guild's leader, who is officially listed as 5th among the S-rank world rankings, remains a mystery to the public. Chun-myung assures the HR manager to not worry about Hyun-woo. He adds that because of having to deal with the Tyrant Guild, they don't have the manpower to waste, so they will send experts to cause him some moderate damage. Meanwhile, Hyun-woo checks out the phone's camera and is impressed by the technological developments of the world. He then takes a picture of his friend and starts playing with the phone. Shi-hyun is annoyed seeing our hero play with the phone that he got him for contact. But then, he tells our hero that the forest village is managed by the Soul Guild. Our hero continues to play on his phone without paying any attention to his friend until he mentions that there's no monster at the forest village. Shi-hyun explains that they defeated the monster there a while ago. He explains that things here are different from the tutorial tower. At the tower, the boss or normal monsters would respawn on a daily basis. However, in the dungeons, the normal monsters appear endlessly no matter how many times they are killed. But once the boss monster is killed, it takes a while to respawn. Our hero is shocked to learn that it will take a month for the forest village boss to respawn, but then Shi-hyun adds that they defeated the boss 4 weeks ago, so it should only take 2 to 3 more days. Hyun-woo then asks about the visible swamp, and Shi-hyun answers that he doesn't know much about that dungeon because it's controlled by the Aries Guild. Our hero feels frustrated that he needs to worry about so much stuff just to kill a monster. Then, Shi-hyun asks our hero when he will register in the Hunters Association. At first, Hyun-woo paid no attention to it, but then he jumps in excitement when Shi-hyun explains all the perks, including money. He suddenly jumps, hearing that he can get paid just by registering. But Shi-hyun explains that he needs to do something in 2 to 3 months. He adds that B ranks get over 1 million, A ranks get 2.5 million, and then there's a huge gap between A and S ranks. After hearing that Shi-hyun gets 7 million every month, our hero is shocked and hurries to register himself right away. The next morning, our hero heads to the Hunters Association Ability Evaluation Center to register himself. When he tells his name, the receptionist recognizes him as the person who was stuck in the tower for 12 years. He remembers all the people coming in to ask about our hero. However, the receptionist thinks there's nothing exceptional about our protagonist, and people are just making a fuss for no reason. After checking everything, he points Hyun-woo to the Eye of the Seeker. Hyun-woo's rank status will appear on the hologram next to the eye, revealing his hunter rank. He places his hand on the eye. The receptionist estimates that he might be B+ at best. However, his jaw drops when the rank is revealed. Seeing his pale face, our hero turns towards the hologram and gets shocked himself. Suddenly, the receptionist's screams echo through the whole building. Soon enough, our hero becomes the hot topic of the news, talking about his unbelievable assessment results. They gossip about all his A's and the fact that no one in the world has that score. Reading the news on his phone, Hyun-woo is surprised to see the news of his evaluation spread out in just a few hours. Shi-hyun explains that advanced players are a hot topic, and ever since he turned everything upside down at the Aries Guild dungeon, Everyone has been keeping an eye on them. Shi-hyun knows our hero doesn't care about any of that, but he knows that the Ares Guild has already gathered information and won't leave him alone after messing with their territory. He advises our hero to be careful, worried that his enemies won't stop chasing him, but he fails to listen. Suddenly, Hyun-woo bursts into laughter seeing a loading screen picture on his phone. He laughs about the ridiculous pose and the aura effect on the hunter's photo. But then, Soo-hyun answers calmly that the hunter in the photo is him. Suddenly, an awkward silence fills the room. Then, our hero asks his friend why he's always hanging out with him when their other friends are always busy. Shi-hyun answers that he's also busy, but he deliberately takes out time from his routine to hang out with our hero. Meanwhile, at the Ares Guild's management branch basement, the HR's face turns pale seeing our hero's assessment results. Chung Myung now understands why the branch manager wants them to deal with our hero, but seeing the HR's pale face, he assures him that Hyun-woo will be dealt with by the Shinchun gang. The HR's face lifts up after hearing that the hunter, soon reaching S rank in China, will be taking care of his opponent, and he now feels confident that his problem will be dealt with. Meanwhile, at the village forest, our hero is confused, seeing no guards at the dungeon. Shi-hyun reveals that the dungeon is owned by his guild. With the clock striking 12, the boss is about to spawn, and our hero and his friends head inside. However, as they walk in, another man keeps spying on them from a distance. At the village forest dungeon, a new guy, Park Ga-moon, joins our hero. Shi-hyun explains that Park is here to pick up the loot, which can be sold for money. Hyun-woo is surprised to learn that the loot is exchanged for money, but the surprise turns to shock when he finds out that the items are worth 20 to 35 million. Our hero fails to understand what use the loot could have for anyone. Shi-hyun knows that he won't understand, but explains that the loot items are used to make armor or weapons. Park starts recording our protagonist's adventure and asks for permission. Although Hyun has no problem with it, he asks the purpose of recording. Hyun-woo is surprised to see that the videos are used to earn money through ad revenue and decides to do an 8-to-2 ratio partnership. The hunters continue their journey, and Soo-hyun hands his friend a piece of paper. He explains to our protagonist that the dungeon is like a maze and getting out of it becomes a problem. Hyun-woo takes a look at the map marked with different spots and throws it away, leaving his friend confused. Our hero approaches the giant tree and tells Park to take a picture of him. He gets close to the tree and swings a powerful punch at it, leaving Park and Shi-hyun shocked in disbelief. The ground is instantly cleared of the obstacles, revealing the dungeon boss, the twin-headed ogre. Park, still recording, freezes in shock, unable to believe that our hero just created the path in one shot. He follows Hyun-woo in excitement after seeing his power. Hyun-woo runs towards the giant ogre and takes a leap, landing on the monster's shoulder. He punches the ogre in the face, knocking him down in one swing. Our protagonist stands on top of the fallen dungeon boss, and Park continues recording, crying in joy that his video is going to be viral. However, Shin Chun-gang continues spying on our hero. Meanwhile, at the Ares Guild management office, Shin Chun-gang visits Chung Myung to inform him about his assignment. He tells the manager about our hero's overwhelming physical power without even using any skills or magic power. Shin Chun-gang admits that he was impressed by our hero's power, but at just a glance, he figured out a way to deal with him. Chung Myung informs his thug that Hyun-woo will be going to the Ares Guild's dungeon, Visible Swamp, and Shin Chun-gang finds it the perfect opportunity to prepare for our hero's arrival. Meanwhile, our hero stands outside the Visible Swamp entrance. However, he feels something off and wonders if he's overthinking. Right then, Seo Yeon texts to alert him about the Ares Guild. However, our protagonist can't understand why his friends are so worried because he doesn't care about the Ares Guild. Seo Yeon worriedly asks Hyun-woo why he's going to the Ares Guild's exclusive dungeon. He answers that he has some business, and she asks him for more details. However, our protagonist doesn't plan to tell her just yet. Seo Yeon asks him if he's trying to mess with the Ares Guild on purpose, and Hyun-woo answers yes. Worried about her friend, Seo Yeon gets upset. She knows she's worrying for no reason. Knowing his stats and seeing the video of him attacking the dungeon makes it obvious that Hyun-woo can take care of himself. Even then, Seo Yeon advises our hero to avoid people from Ares and take care of his business quickly. The Visible Swamp is an A-rank dungeon, and Seo Yeon thinks that the Ares Guild will visit the dungeon on the day the boss monster spawns to raid the dungeon. Our hero appreciates the advice and assures his friend to not worry about him. However, now as he stands outside the Visible Swamp dungeon, he once again faces the Ares people. The Ares hunter faces off against Hyun-woo and threatens him against making Ares his enemy. Our protagonist remembers Seo Yeon telling him to avoid these people, but with them constantly bugging him, it's impossible to do that. He calls out the thugs for all being the same, how they always look down on him and get beat up every time. Then when they realize the problem they are in, they just say the guild's name and start struggling. The hunter gets angry and runs to attack our hero with his sword, but just strikes the man down effortlessly and walks through the entrance. Hyun-woo steps through the gate and the monster awakens. He continues walking through the dungeon, and the monster moves towards him. At last, our protagonist faces off against the dungeon boss, the mega alligator. Our hero remembers Seo Yan's lecture about the alligator's tough leather, his magic resistance, and how expensive the leather and the teeth are, and starts smiling. Hyun-woo instantly attacks the mega alligator and knocks him out. He proceeds to rip the monster apart, but the alligator runs away. However, our hero refuses to let the alligator escape and grabs him by the tail. He decides to teach the boss monster about a little swing and starts swinging it around and throws him into the wall. The mega alligator grows angry and faces our hero once again. Shin Chun-gang observes the fight. The alligator takes a leap, and just as our hero prepares for the final showdown, chains suddenly wrap around his legs. With Hyun-woo tied in chains, the alligator opens its big jaws, and Shin Chun-gang waits for his death. However, just as the alligator closes in on him, Hyun-woo ducks down and the alligator jumps into the swamp. Our hero looks down at the chains confused, and then Shin Chun-gang speaks up that it's a magic chain and a perfect tool to deal with him. Hyun-woo is confused when he sees the random man. The assassin jumps down to introduce himself and tells our hero that he was sent by the Ares Guild to deal with him. Our hero now understands that he faces an assassin. Shin Chun-gang speaks praises of our hero's strength when he swung the alligator around or knocked out the ogre in one hit. However, he doesn't understand why his opponent is so relaxed after being caught in a magic chain. Hyun-woo is confused, not knowing what the chain is supposed to do, but then he realizes he can't move at all. Shin Chun-gang says that it's a magic chain, and our hero needs magic power to get out of it. However, he needs magic power stronger than someone with A rank to break free. But since our protagonist just came out of the tower recently, he has no magic power. Even then, Hyun-woo is confused, unable to see the trouble. Shin Chun-gang grows frustrated, thinking that our hero is just trying to fool him. He thinks that, like everyone else, Hyun-woo too is just pretending to be calm and planning his next move. Our protagonist is still confused because he wasn't doing any of that. The assassin draws out his sword, ready to attack our hero. Just when he strikes with the sword, our hero raises his arm up, blocking the attack. Shin Chun-gang releases the venom explosion. A blast goes off and smoke covers the air. The assassin thinks that he has done his job, but he's shocked when the smoke clears and Hyun-woo sits unscathed. Our hero doesn't know what his opponent did. The assassin freezes, not understanding why his attack didn't work. Right then, our hero starts moving, and the assassin's face is met with a punch. Shin Chun-gang is thrown into a tree. Hyun-woo walks up to him and says that he should have wrapped his whole body tightly in chains to stop him from moving. The assassin can't understand how his opponent is doing this. Our hero knows that Shin Chun-gang must be confused and tells him that the chains got loose and stopped functioning properly. He kicks the tree and lifts it up while the assassin is stuck to it. Our hero tells his opponent that he should be prepared to die if he planned to kill him. The mega alligator peacefully floats through the swamp, and suddenly, Shin Chun-gang falls on him. Hyun-woo throws the tree into the swamp, killing the alligator too. He stands by the swamp quietly, and suddenly the system screen pops up, notifying our hero that he has proved himself and the lowest tier information will be available to him now. Meanwhile, at the Ares Guild Management Department, Chung Myung is informed that his assassin has died. The assistant informs him that the tree that Shin Chun-gang was stuck in has sunk in the swamp, and although they couldn't confirm it, it's likely that he's dead. Chung Myung thinks that the monster must have eaten his assassin up. However, he had 2 S-rank stats and 7 skills. Seeing his capable assassin be easily killed by our hero annoys Chung Myung. Hyun-woo lies in the apartment and tries to sleep. Suddenly, he wakes up remembering the information window. The system screen reveals that our hero has been invited to be a temporary guardian in the system. He's confused, feeling something changed, but he doesn't know what all the stuff on the screen means. Hyun-woo thought that he'd be able to get information about the tower, but he doesn't know what the system inviting him means. He noticed the time at 9:30, and the invite came at around 2 p.m. Right then, Shi-hyun walks into the apartment, and our hero tells him to stop there. He opens the information window to test his new skill. After a little focus, Shi-hyun's information window appears. However, Hyun-woo can't see any stats because of his lowest tier authority. He curses out in anger, seeing his useless skill, confusing Shi-hyun, but then our hero recovers it, saying that he was just blabbering to himself. Our protagonist stares at the clock on his phone. As it nears 12 a.m., our hero thinks that the useless skill has definitely brought some change to him. He thinks that he should be able to find information about things like the tower after getting the system invitation. Right then, the clock turns to 12 and the room gets dark. Hyun-woo suddenly finds himself teleported to a different space, and as he looks to his front, he sees a girl sitting at the desk before him. The girl calls our hero Guardian and reveals that she's his assistant, Eve. Eve introduces herself and tells the Guardian that she'll be seeing him as long as he's alive. Hyun-woo's mood lights up, realizing he finally has someone to talk to, and he can finally know why he has been stuck in the tower for 12 years. The two stare at each other silently, and then our hero speaks up, asking his assistant if she's going to explain everything. Eve is confused about what she needs to explain. Our hero gets angry and screams, asking if she invited him here to give him explanations. However, Eve calmly tells him that she can only answer him. Realizing that his assistant can only answer his question, our hero is struck with shock. He then proceeds to ask questions, and starts by asking who locked him in the tutorial tower. Eve answers that she can't tell him that because he has the lowest tier of authority for information. She tells him that she can only answer him if he has a higher tier of information authority. Our hero's anger piles up, realizing that it's the same stuff his information window kept talking about. Annoyed, Hyunwoo asks his assistant if she'll be able to tell him who locked him in the tower once he has higher tier information. However, Eve answers him that she can't tell him that because of his lowest tier authority. He then asks to know what the tutorial tower is, but Eve again answers that she can't tell him that. He then asks why the tutorial tower was made but gets the same answer. Our protagonist asks why the monsters appear, and still gets the same answer. Tired of not getting any answers, his anger starts piling up, and he bumps Eve in the head. He starts screaming at her for inviting him here for no reason, and starts laughing, thinking she just wanted to pull a prank on him. Eve speaks up that she's not telling him anything because he has the lowest tier of information authority, and Hyunwoo's anger grows even more. But then, Eve tells him that she can tell him something. She adds he's a guardian, and guardian refers to a defender. This answer still isn't enough for our protagonist, and he asks if she can give him something more important. The assistant answers that she can tell him about the things that a guardian has to do from now on. Hyunwoo gets frustrated that she's not telling him about the things he's curious about. But then Eve tells him that he's a temporary guardian, and if he officially becomes a guardian, he'll be able to find out all the details even if he doesn't want to. Our protagonist gets curious about what he needs to do to officially become a guardian. Eve answers that in his area, a crevasse will open in 5 days. In the deepest ends of that place, he will find a key that can raise the tier of his information authority. By obtaining that key, our hero will become a real guardian. After passing the message, Eve upgrades Hyunwoo's skills and sends him back to his world. He stands in his apartment, staring at a system window telling him to acquire the key. So, our protagonist decides to go all the way and become an official guardian to get the information he wanted. Meanwhile, our hero's friends are shocked to hear about the crevasse. They awkwardly stare at each other and ask him why he's asking about it all of a sudden. Hyunwoo is confused seeing everyone's reaction, and then Soo-hyun reveals that a crevasse is a huge disaster. Meanwhile, at the Aries Guild headquarters, Hyuk-sun-woo spirals out in anger, realizing that his best hunter in the management was defeated by Hyunwoo. Chun-myung silently stands feeling ashamed. Sun-woo assures him he doesn't blame him, and orders Yu to get everyone and crush our hero down if there's a way to do it. He offers Yu some money and orders him to get some mercenaries stronger than the one he sent before. Hyuk-sun-woo makes it very clear to his HR manager what he wants. Yu understands the orders, and Sun-woo decides to focus on the Tyrant Guild next. The Tyrant Guild in China continues to beat up the Aries members in a separate building. Realizing that things are not working according to his plan, Sun-woo's anger continues to pile up. Meanwhile, our protagonist's eyes light up in excitement seeing the $2 billion ring. Won-hyung explains that stuff like this appears in a labyrinth very commonly. Hyunwoo is confused about the difference between a labyrinth and a dungeon. His friends explain that artifacts are found in a labyrinth, and the ring is also an artifact. Special resources or loot like spirit stones are found in dungeons after monsters die. But in a labyrinth's treasure trove, artifacts with good functions are found. Won-hyung tells his friend that the ring is enchanted. Our hero is amazed by the game-like function as he realizes that these objects are better than normal equipment. He observes the ring, and a system screen pops up telling him info about the ring. The system tells our hero that he can read the item description with his special skill. He decides to give it a try and the information board pops up. However, the whole description is redacted because he has the lowest tier authority. Our hero is annoyed by the trashy and useless skill, but he decides to visit the labyrinth after his main mission. He returns the ring back to Won-hyung after confirming its price and focuses on the menu. Our protagonist reads the menu and decides to order all of it. His friends are shocked, thinking he won't be able to eat it all, but Won-hyung tells him to order everything he wants. Right then, Hyunwoo asks his friend what a crevasse is, shocking everyone again. While having their food, our protagonist learns that crevasse means the ground would suddenly crack and countless monsters would come up. Seo Yeon explains that countries like China and Germany experienced crevasse and called it the Hell Gate. Thinking about how casually Eve mentioned it, Hyunwoo thought it was just something normal. However, he now wonders what would happen if something like that happened in Korea. The whole group falls into deep thought, and Soo-hyun answers that although they can stop it, even the lowest C-rank crevasse will leave that area completely barren. Everyone knows their guilds, along with some others, will help out, but the Aries Guild will just send some weaklings and pretend to help out. Our protagonist tells his friends to eat a lot and relax for 4 days. When they ask what he means, all he tells them is that they'll find out soon. Meanwhile, at the airport, people notice the ground shake. Thinking it's an earthquake, people rush to leave and suddenly the ground cracks open. Meanwhile, a man in robes walks up to his master to inform him that the 9th floor has awakened. The master asks about our protagonist, but the man answers that he has not awakened yet. However, he adds that it won't be long before that, and our hero will receive an official title. The master finds the timing perfect and looks forward to seeing what our hero can do. At the Gimpo International Airport, the whole ground shakes, and people run in panic. Fire devours the area as the news reports the immediate evacuation order for the citizens within 5 kilometers. The airport is locked down in emergency, and the hunters from the association continuously join in to aid. Countless monsters continue to climb through the crevasse, and the situation worsens. With the airport on lockdown, the hunters face off against the monster. The rookies tremble seeing the giant ferocious monsters surround them. Their leaders tell them to be courageous, otherwise they'll die. He jumps in with his bind skill and protects his fellow from being attacked and slays the monster with his sword. The rookie starts thanking, but the leader tells him to focus on fighting for now. The hunters face the monsters, but seeing so many of them, they start cursing. The leader continues to cut through the monsters, but he knows that more will just keep surrounding him. The monsters continue to come through the airport, and the hunters need to do something. Suddenly, something grabs the hunters' attention, and as they turn around, they see a giant skeleton. The hunters start trembling in fear seeing the A+ rank monster. They give up fighting, knowing their death is inevitable. The skeleton raises his giant stick. The fighter faces off with his shield. The skeleton strikes the shield, but the hunter fails to block and is thrown flying into a car. The giant skeleton walks up to the injured hunter. The leader screams at his soldier to wake up, but he doesn't respond. Suddenly, the skeleton's head is smashed into bits as our hero jumps through the monster and lands into the crowd. All the hunters are left shocked. They notice his clothes and realize that it's none other than the famous advanced player, Kim Hyun-woo. The hero received a notification saying that he needs to acquire a key located deep in the crevasse at Gimpo Airport in order to prove himself, and the time remaining is 22 minutes, 32 seconds. Now he has to explore the airport deeply. Meanwhile, the people standing beside are in shock, witnessing how the hero manages to take down the skeleton in one go. Soon enough, he alerts those people about the monster behind them. Since the number of monsters is huge, he decides to step in quickly and help out a little, even though the reinforcements are coming. The hero effortlessly lifts the giant hammer, which the skeleton used earlier, and throws it towards those monsters, slamming them down. Nearby humans are amazed over his absolute strength. They get excited, realizing that with the advanced player helping them, they have hope and can hold a little longer till the reinforcement comes. But to their surprise, the hero takes his run, leaving the rest to them since he is in a hurry. Their jaws drop as they see the hope running away, but with no choice left, they decide to put everything just to hang in a little. One of them helplessly questions this act of Hyunwoo. Things are slipping away because there is no end for the number of monsters, and all of them are tired. It's been very long since they have fought so many monsters than they can even handle. The fear of losing the people inside fires up them, and they are trying to manage things till the reinforcements come. Just then, Kim Shi-hyun from the Seoul Guild, along with his guild members, steps in, slicing the monster. Seconds later, Lee Seo-yeon shows up along with her Orang Guild members, and the hope has returned with the arrival of Han Seo-kwon from Goguryeo Guild, along with his allies. Seo-yeon asks about the hero, since he mentioned that he's going ahead, on which the guy informs her that he is already inside the crevasse's core. The fight begins, and everyone accelerates on the command of Seo-kwon. The monsters are flying to attack, but it is of no use in front of the powerful warriors. Shi-hyun is impressively wiping out the monsters in and out, while Seo-yeon is helping to decrease their count using her lightning power. Everyone is putting their best to take down all those devils. Meanwhile, the hero finally reaches the way to Caravas core by wiping out the monsters in his way. There is a deep cave in which he decides to go first. The surprising part is that there is a way up to the surface for the monsters to get on the ground. The hero is struggling to think of a way to get down there, but suddenly he notices a car stuck nearby and uses its door as a shield as well as a weapon to step in the cave. He flies down, destroying those monsters, and finally finds the way to the bottom of Caravas. He lands at the pile of dead monsters he throws after killing. Soon enough, a bulky giant red monster walks out of the shadows with a key on him. Hyunwoo understands that's the key he needs to get his hands on, and confidently charges at him, but ends up getting hit. Out of shock, when he is trying to understand the situation that has happened to him, he again receives a powerful strike. The hero somehow manages to dodge him and slams him down to the ground, but the monster again charges forward, cursing Hyunwoo in his own language. He blocks both the punches from the hero, and instead throws him backwards. It is clear that this monster is stronger than the hero thought it would be, and he is very different from the earlier monsters. It makes the hero decide to use his martial arts skill, which he hasn't used in a while and didn't want to use it ever again. Hyunwoo recalls his memory when he was stuck in the tutorial tower, laying down helplessly thinking about the enlightenment by which one can get out. He desperately ran into the monsters and tried his best. This is how he started training in martial arts. This is something that one can see on TV, movies, and novels, But it doesn't make any sense because according to the hero, what's important is the thought that he will be the greatest if he becomes the master and achieves enlightenment. At first he followed whatever clumsy techniques he knew, which were all useless, until one day he used a useless technique and the accumulated stats made the thing he did into something real after being stuck into the tower and clearing it hundreds of times. The dark past he didn't want to use again. He uses his instant killing punch technique and with full force he punches that giant red monster to the ground. Hyunwoo is glad that no one is around because he is embarrassed due to his habit of shouting out the names of techniques he uses. The system confirms his success of catching the Crimson Demon Archer, and the changes have been made in his status window. He is also officially invited to become a member of the system as a guardian, and he has only one day to accept this offer. Just then, he notices a drone flying over his head which was actually streaming that fight of his. The Ares Guild members watch his fight and the branch manager shouts, insisting that the hero doesn't look like an A rank. Even after watching his fight, it is clear that he doesn't look like one. The manager claims that he is just a useless person with no magic who always wears his stupid tracksuit. He asks the manager Yu to release all the data he asked him to gather as soon as it's ready. The next day, at the Korean Hunter Association branch, there is an award ceremony going on for the hunters who fought the monsters at Crevasse. The hero is standing tall with confidence while everyone is roasting his bad attitude. The host presents the award to the hunter Kim Hyunwoo and mocks his tracksuit, mentioning that he suggested giving him some clothes, on which the protagonist calmly advises to not get worried about it. Everyone teases his overconfidence, and the host is standing triggered. Seconds after, Hyunwoo takes his run with his gifts without any hesitation, making them even more furious. At the outskirts of China's capital, Beijing, there is a tyrant guild's supreme ruler castle. A mysterious girl with a skull tattoo on her back is watching Hyunwoo fight. Her eyes widens when she sees him doing that pose and asks his name from her assistant. The assistant mentions his name, and the girl instantly advises her to investigate his every information from the past. Later, a guy informs that mysterious girl about the subjugation of the Weon Guild, that they have succeeded in taking over all the major dungeons of South. He further explains that one of their executives is kidnapped, and the doubt is on Ares Guild since they had been in the hot water with them earlier. The girl doesn't like their executives being defeated by Ares' mere likes and mentions that there would be no place for them if they didn't make it back here on their own. She comments to increase the takeover speed since it is bothering her that they are struggling just to take over a mere dungeon. Later, Hyunwoo's friends inform him that he has become famous. He notices the headlines on news which were terrible and mentions how these reporters haven't changed even after 12 years, but his friends insist that the reporters are supposed to do so because of the way he walked out after receiving his reward and his stupid tracksuit. Soon enough, the hero mentions that he has an appointment and takes his leave. Seoyeon is worried about him because he has made so many enemies. They discuss his conflict with Ares and the media, even though it's not been very long since he came out of the tower. But one of them insists not to worry about the hero because he is a stronger individual. Meanwhile, the hero accepted the invitation earlier from the system and teleports to somewhere. His assistant, Eve, expresses her greetings before sitting right in front of him. Hyunwoo asks her if his information authority has increased, which informs him that it has been increased from lowest tier to low tier. The hero is burning up with anger and snaps at her, but she's actually providing the information that she has been taught about. The gray-haired girl calms him down and informs that since he is officially a guardian now, he can achieve what he wants just by completing the task. Basically, he has been appointed to stop the climbers from climbing the tower. The hero misunderstood this tower as the tutorial tower, but she explains that this one is different, consisting of 12 floors, including Earth. He has to protect the 9th floor from the 12, which is Earth. The hero is questioning his life and cries because he is tired of doing continuous work. Av insists him to protect his place, or else it will be destroyed, on which he shouts at her for forcing the outcomes. Av shakes her head, trying to relax him, saying that it's not what she meant, then settles on saying she never told him to shut up. Hyunwoo's color went white as he stared at the sky, inquiring what she wanted him to do, and told her to say it properly. Av looks down thinking how she is the system administrator of the 9th floor, so she should be intimidating enough to get her say in. She anxiously calls out his name, then flusters when he repeats hers. She ends up telling him not to get so angry because the reason he got chosen as the guardian is for his sake, and that it is to help him, then tries to bribe him, telling him that there are rewards, because the more climbers he stops will be counted as his contribution, which will bring him rewards. Hyunwoo stares at her, then asks her in simple words that if he wants to know who locked him in the tower after making the tutorial tower, how much authority for information does he have to acquire? Av answers that it would require him to get high-tier information authority for that kind of information. Hyunwoo asks again that if he kills those climbers during their journey, will that increase his tier? After an affirmative nod from Av, He asks for the amount of climbers he has to kill in order to do that. Av shows hesitation, saying that it will be hard to know since even climbers have ranks, so roughly it would take him 5 high-ranked climbers, and that would be enough to get him the high-tier information authority. Hyun-woo requires more information, like what rank the Crimson Demon Archer that he killed was. Av answers that it was a low-rank climber. Hyun-woo nods, roughly understanding everything. Hyun-woo sits in his house staring at his status, thinking that the Earth being a tower is complete nonsense, or him saving the Earth is nonsense. He decides to not waste his time and brain cells over these complicated situations. Instead, he is going to focus on one thing, which would be to find out who locked him in here, so he will even crush those climbers to know that. Just then, a call from Seo Yam interrupts him. She worriedly told him to open his television. Upon opening his TV, Hyun-woo sees his name plastered with news saying that the public opinion about him has shifted because Hyun-woo Kim, who played an important role during the crevasse crisis, has killed a member of Ares Guild after a number of related incidents. Hyun-woo laughs at the news, asking what this new drama is about. Hyun-woo lay in his house in the Mokdong neighborhood, his phone ringing like crazy. Seo Yeon let out a shriek, asking for an explanation about who might have caused all this. She called Hyun-woo a celebrity just because he came out of the tower after 12 years. She listed how only a few days ago he cleared the crevasse by himself, which caused all countries to monitor him, and now he was getting accused of murder. She expressed her worries, saying she had been feeling nervous since he told her about his problems with Ares. Hyun-woo rolled his eyes, telling her to relax and not worry, which only made Seo Yeon even more annoyed, telling him to stop telling her not to worry. Hyun-woo realized how this felt oddly like getting scolded by a wife, which was weird because he didn't remember ever having a girlfriend, let alone a wife. He turned towards Seo Yeon and called her out, saying she must have a crush on him, and if his assumption was correct, she should just be honest and confess. Hearing that, Seo Yeon slowly inhaled and exhaled, then smiled creepily, confirming that she would simply fry him with her lightning if he ever thought about making another joke like that. He laughed awkwardly, trying to lighten the mood, thinking it was better to leave the topic before he said something worse. Si-hyun got up and showed him all the missed calls from the Hunter Association, expressing that it was his first time seeing so many missed calls. Then he showed him the status board, showing that Hyun-woo was in first place again. Si-hyun started reading an article stating that Kim Hyun-woo, along with his 3 guild leaders, had similar tendencies toward murder, making Si-hyun's eyes go red with anger. Hyun-woo tried to stop Si-hyun from making scary faces at him, but Si-hyun replied that he was shocked by Hyun-woo's lack of concern when all of their reputations were being ruined. Hyun-woo asked whether Seok-woon had arranged the reporters for him, shocking Seo Yeon and Si-hyun as they nervously asked if he was even prepared. Hyun-woo looked amused that they thought he would go to a press conference without preparation. Seo Yeon advised him not to beat up the reporters or accept that he would destroy the Ares Guild. Hyun-woo looked at them and asked if that was really what they thought of him. Meanwhile, Ares Guild's leader inquired about the current situation with Kim Hyun-woo. HR manager informed him that Hyun-woo's face was all over the news and social media, successfully shifting public opinion and assuring that things were not looking good for Hyun-woo in any way. The leader thought about how he needed to be one step ahead to get rid of him completely. The guild leader thought about how something he barely believed possible had been done by Kim Hyun-woo, but in the end, it worked in their favor and became a huge disadvantage for him. At the Mokdong press conference, Hyun-woo sat confidently as the reporters began asking questions, whether the recent news was true or the reason behind his attack on the Ares Guild member. Hyun-woo let out a breath, stating clearly that it was his first press conference, so he would just do what he thought was right, then ordered one of the reporters to ask the first question. The reporter asked how Hyun-woo was feeling now, to which he casually answered that he felt like crap. When another reporter straightforwardly asked if he had actually killed the Ares member, he nodded his head, telling them to judge him however they wanted, but first listen to the recording. He stated he didn't know the reason behind all of this, but he remembered refusing Ares Guild's offer to recruit him. He played the voice recording, where the deceased person confessed that he was an assassin sent by Ares Guild to kill him. After the fierce fight, Hyun-woo stopped the recording right before the moment the incident happened, leaving the reporters speechless. He calmly informed them that he knew they were tipped off by Ares Guild itself. He explained that he had gone there to defeat the boss monster and that the member simply followed him. One reporter accused him of forging the recording, but Hyun-woo pulled out another phone from his pocket, stating that it belonged to the man he had killed in the swamp. He added that he wasn't able to open it since it was locked, but if he entrusted it to a security company or the police, the truth would eventually come out. He then added his verdict, that he did not have a choice since the assassin was already there to kill him. Since he was just a newbie who had only just come out of the tower, he did what he knew best, which was to defend himself. However, the assassin who was sent to kill him got tangled with the dungeon's boss monster, the mega alligator, which resulted in his death. The reporters screamed, accusing him that he just confessed to killing him. Hyun-woo calmly replied that it could be seen like that because he had let his guard down while fighting him, and he ended up dead. He also shared how Ares Guild had its own reputation, which was why he didn't say anything, but he didn't know things would escalate this far. The press conference ended, leaving Hyunwoo thinking how complicated all of this had become, and then he checked the new articles reporting about Ares and their fabricated lies. The leader of Ares Guild threw his things in anger, cursing Hyunwoo for pulling such a move during the press conference. Then he started laughing, calling him dumb, someone who knew nothing about how this world worked, promising himself that he would get to him one way or another. At the inn, the friends followed Hyunwoo as Sihyun asked how he came up with the idea of recording him, since it seemed like he already knew what was going to happen. Seo-yeon added how surprising it was when Hyunwoo brought out the dead assassin's phone, making all her worries meaningless now. Hyunwoo smiled and confessed that he lied about having the assassin's cell phone with them. The three of them stared at him, asking why he lied at the press conference. He took out the phone and showed it to them, stating that it didn't belong to the assassin but to Sihyun, who often changed his phone. He then informed them that he took their advice, since they always told him how dangerous Ares was, so he had been recording like that, but didn't know it would actually be useful someday. Seo-yeon couldn't help but be worried, asking what would happen if they actually asked for the phone. Hyunwoo calmed her by saying that it was Ares they were talking about, so before the security team, the guys from Ares were going to inspect it anyway, so he just made sure they knew not to mess with him anymore. Seo-yeon soon started laughing lightly, saying that Hyunwoo suddenly looked cool with his worries. The Ares Guild, with its headquarters in America and labyrinths all over the world, was known to have its Korean branch holding the highest number of dungeons. He started waiting and thinking about what Ares' next move would be, since they had a lot to lose if he got them involved. Later at night, Hyunwoo sent Sihyun away, telling him that he would take a stroll alone. Sihyun believed that he was capable of taking care of himself and loved roaming his own way. It took only a few minutes before Hyunwoo found himself surrounded by cloaked members of the Ares Guild. He added that he was waiting for them. The masked man ordered him to follow them. Hyunwoo realized it might be Ares' higher-ups looking for him and asked what would happen if he said no. The masked man answered that they would drag him out. Hyunwoo smiled, successfully provoking them, as they all began striking him one by one. He only stood there smiling, but none of their attacks reached his body. The masked men tried again, but found themselves locked around Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo stood still as the masked men started squirming, confused as to why their attacks weren't working on him. Hyunwoo moved his head, fighting one by one with precise, measured strikes until the last man began begging him to let him live. Hyunwoo nodded, sparing his life, but ordered the man to take him to whoever was looking for him. At the outskirts of Gwangju province, the same masked men conversed while guarding the underground bunker. One of them pointed out how their guild liked to waste money on building such things. The other quickly told him to stop being ungrateful, reminding him that these shelters were keeping them, the murderer hunters, alive under their protection. Their conversation drifted to how another of their partners was bringing a big name in today, Hyunwoo. The first man answered that he had seen Hyunwoo's face plastered all over the media and joked that they didn't need anything more than to drag him here and give him a good beating. The man beside him added that they would probably get to use the new torture devices on him. A loud crash interrupted them as Hyunwoo stood still, dragging the beaten masked men, and asked if this was the place. After a lot of punches and kicks thrown at the babblers outside the bunker, the leader finally insisted and got Hyunwoo's attention, asking what all the noise was about. The other masked men took positions in front of the elevator, raising their guards high. Hyunwoo walked calmly in, asking questions about the building and how much this whole setup would have cost them. The man in a suit moved forward, demanding his name and why he was there. Hyunwoo smirked and answered that he was the Grim Reaper sent upon them to send them to the afterlife. In an unknown cell, the pink-haired girl sat beaten, surrounded by men. The leader of Ares Guild indicated that she should think about her life and start telling them the answers, since the Pato Guild had apparently abandoned her. He tried again to press her for their weaknesses and inside information, but she only smiled. The leader ordered his men to take her back and give her more beating. One of the men came forward, replying that they could just kill her today, but the leader gave a cold shrug and said he didn't care about that. Just then the door burst open and Hyunwoo entered. He looked around for the person who had invited him and then at the tied-up girl. He wore a sad expression as he called out, accusing them of being busy with other guests after summoning him. The leader questioned about the team. Hyunwoo answered that they were all taking a nap in the back, just like the men inside the building. Hyunwoo gave the guy two choices: talk to him or get beaten into a pulp. The Ares leader ran outside of the bunker, looking at the men lying on the ground and freaking out. Another masked man tried to sneak an attack on Hyunwoo, but he caught him and sent him flying with a kick. The man groaned in pain as the leader looked around. Hyunwoo stared, pointing out that he had only visited since he was invited, yet everyone was so hostile toward him, adding that it was starting to make him angry. The leader stared at him, thinking about how the men here were all B-grade, and on top of it, all the murderer hunters sent to bring Hyunwoo were on their way to becoming A-grade hunters, while the ones guarding the bunker were A-class hunters. He realized that he already knew Hyunwoo was strong, but when he heard that Hyunwoo cleared the rift solo, he assumed it was probably beginner's luck that let him win over a low-grade boss. In reality, Hyunwoo was an S-grade hunter. Not only that, but a high-rank S-grade hunter. He started calculating his chances of beating him in a fight with his mid-rank S-grade gear, but Hyunwoo interrupted his thoughts, ordering him to hurry and choose between the two options he gave. The leader's mind clicked and started running toward Hyunwoo while cursing at him, but then came back to his senses after taking a deep breath and decided they would talk instead. They sat in front of each other at a round table. The leader pondered over the fact that he still had things to find out about the other guilds, and that until he figured out Hyunwoo's exact capabilities, it was best to deal with the situation cautiously. Hyunwoo blinked at him, demanding compensation. The leader looked at him with a dumbfounded expression. Hyunwoo added that he wanted compensation for all the trouble caused by the Ares Guild, listing that they sent an assassin to murder him. Then the news channels rambling about his alleged murder while they used the media to scare him off. Hyunwoo added that he wouldn't forget these incidents. The leader asked what he wanted, and Hyunwoo replied with a smile, demanding 10 million won, along with a few of their low-level dungeons. The leader snapped out of his shock and slammed his fist on the table, calling the demands ridiculous. But Hyunwoo argued that they were completely reasonable since they were the ones who went berserk on him. The leader cursed him in his mind while calculating that he could manage 10 million won, but his request for 2 dungeons meant he wanted to take over their property and the newer hunters. Hyunwoo added another 5,000 won because of the leader's slow reaction. The leader calmed down and tried a softer approach. He said that if this was the amount of money Hyunwoo wanted, then their contract could offer him much more, and asked why he rejected them in the first place. He continued, if Hyunwoo joined Ares Guild today, all his needs would be met, every demand fulfilled, because it was better to work with mutual benefit than to make an enemy out of a popular guild. Hyunwoo laughed at his attempt to change the subject and pointed out how the guild acted high and mighty but was involved in lowly acts, like the pink-haired girl tied up there, ending with the statement that he simply didn't care about their proposal. The leader grit his teeth, admiring his confidence. Hyunwoo stood up, giving him 10 seconds to decide whether the leader agreed to the compensation or if Hyunwoo would simply kill him there. Si-hyun heard the click of their door, assuming Hyunwoo was finally back, and welcomed him. He took his eyes off his phone to look at him, only to see Hyunwoo carrying a pink-haired girl on his back. He was startled and asked for an explanation. Cheoma Muwol notices the surroundings and recognizes that the place is the 9th floor. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Hyunwoo, who stands beside Si-hyun. In front of them lies an unconscious woman. Plus, Hyunwoo has gained a huge reward, $11 million, and the rights to 4 level D dungeons, and also the woman as part of his compensation. Si-hyun wonders how the hero managed to take all this from Hyuk Seon-woo, a man known for his greed and thirst for control, to which our guy explains in his composed way that Seon-woo had no other choice if he wanted to survive. Still curious, Si-hyun glances at the unconscious woman and wonders why Hyun brought her along, to which Hyunwoo answers that she is a hostage and that there is something personal he wants to confirm from her. After hearing this, Si-hyun finds that reason a little unusual, but chooses not to question further. After a short silence, Si-hyun remembers that the dungeon bosses are scheduled to respawn today. Since he needs to clear them, he prepares to leave, assuring the hero that he will handle it, to which the protagonist tells him to take care. When Hyun is left alone, his eyes fall on a tattoo on the woman's body. The pattern feels oddly familiar, reminding him of a mask he once carved, carrying words about emptiness and self-abandonment. The similarity unsettles the hero, making him question if it's really a coincidence. After that, he checks her information tab and learns her name is Hong Lin, a young woman poisoned and resting. Nothing else stands out, yet the strange connection keeps bothering him. He decides to wait for her to wake up before searching for answers. Hyunwoo stands still when a sudden system alert appears, saying a new climber has started moving through the 9th floor. Before he can react, another message appears, inviting him as a guardian and warning that he will be transported in 5 seconds. Within moments, our hero appears before Av, who has called him urgently. After that, Eve tells him that someone important is on the way, the next climber. Our guy tries to learn who it is and when they'll arrive, but Eve can't reveal more because Hyun's clearance level is too low. Frustrated by the repeating notifications and lack of answers, Hyunwoo loses his patience and attacks Ave, to which Eve insists she isn't hiding anything, and that she called the hero only to give a warning about something more serious approaching. Further, Eve explains that this climber will be far stronger than anyone Hyun has ever faced, and that he needs to prepare before the arrival. The most important step, Eve tells him, is to awaken his magic skills as soon as possible, or else he could be in serious danger. Our guy wonders if the climber is a high-ranking one, but Eve denies it, saying that if such a being appeared, it would bring complete destruction. Even so, she explains that without magic, Hyun would struggle to fight even middle-rank climbers. After hearing this, the hero tries to ask where the climber will appear and if another crevice will open, but Eve hesitates and admits she cannot reveal that information and explains that the form and nature of a climber depend on their strength and achievements. Feeling frustrated by the answers, Hyun-woo sums up the situation in irritation, realizing he knows little and must face whatever comes alone. In anger, he lashes out at Ave, who protests that he shouldn't hit someone weaker and questions his parenting. Her emotional outburst slips into guilt when the protagonist admits his parents died in a car accident when he was young. Shaken, Eve immediately apologizes and feels shame for what she said, to which Hyun-woo brushes it off, saying it's nothing to worry about. Watching his reaction, Eve softens and begins to think that, despite his harsh temper, the protagonist might not be such a bad person after all. At the Orang Guild's villa in Gwangjingu, chaos fills the room as Kim Hyun-woo shouts in frustration. He sits inside a glowing magic circle and becomes angry that nothing seems to work, because the circle, meant to help him sense mana, shows no effect, and he begins to think it's a scam. After hearing all of this, Honorine panics and warns him not to damage it since the circle costs 5 trillion won. Our guy stops but still grows doubtful, and starts wondering if he might simply be someone born without mana, to which Narin, who is a mage, insists that such a thing is nearly impossible, and admits she has never seen a case like his, where even with her help and the mana concentration circle, someone fails to unlock their energy after so many attempts. In the middle, Soo-hyun enters and notices the atmosphere, and realizes that even after 4 days, the protagonist hasn't managed to awaken his mana, to which the hero immediately assumes Shi-hyun came to mock him, but Shi-hyun denies it, and explains that he only came to deliver mail sent under Hyun-woo's name. As he hands over the envelope, he casually mentions that it's from the Korean Hunter Association's Guild Formation Council, asking if our hero has started his own guild, to which Honorine becomes surprised when she learns that Kim Hyun-woo has started a guild. Afterwards, she excitedly questions when it happened, to which the hero explains that after gaining a dungeon, he decided to experiment with some new ideas. Also, he proudly shares the guild name, which is Guardian, meaning the one who protects. Both Honorine and Soo-hyun exchange looks and admit that the name doesn't quite suit his personality. Trying to shift the topic, our guy wonders about the unconscious girl he brought earlier, to which Soo-hyun tells him she's still in the same condition, though not in danger. After hearing this, the protagonist worries it might be something severe, but Soo-hyun reassures him that the nurse said it was only shock. After that, Hyun-woo's frustration returns because sitting in the mana circle for days still hasn't helped him awaken his mana, and he complains loudly that nothing feels different. Honorin, thinking for a moment, suggests they visit someone who can vent mana instead. After this, Soo-hyun realizes she means Nakaga and Yasumi from Japan. Confused, the hero asks what mana venting even is, to which Narin explains that the guildmaster of the Azanami Guild in Japan possesses a unique ability known as mana venting, a special skill that works like magical acupuncture. Plus, it opens and stabilizes the mana pathways of hunters who can't use their energy properly, allowing them to raise their rank. Hearing this, Hyun-woo grows slightly hopeful and realizes that there might finally be a way to unlock the power he's been struggling to awaken. But the hero gets frustrated when Honorine suggests going to Japan to meet the person who can help him unlock mana. The idea of traveling feels too tiring for him, so he complains that he's too lazy to fly that far. At that same moment, in Tokyo's Suganami district, a battle rages inside an intermediate dungeon. Guildmaster Nakagawa Asumi from the Azanami Guild is leading his hunter, but things are getting worse, and his team shouts for him to save them as a powerful enemy keeps attacking. After that, he yells for everyone to dodge as a massive force sweeps through the battlefield. Amid the destruction, a mysterious man steps forward, and the hunters freeze in fear. Nakagawa stares at him, trying to understand who he is. When he asks, the man calmly replies that many people have called him by different names: the Climber, the Destroyer, even the Devil. After a brief pause, he reveals his true name, Cheonma. A sudden notification appears, announcing that a new climber has reached the 9th floor through a passageway in Tokyo, Japan. After seeing this, Hyun-woo freezes, and also the mention of a climber instantly grabs his attention. Shocked, he orders Soo-hyun to get the car ready immediately. Plus, he knows the situation in Japan has already turned into chaos because of the climber's arrival. News spreads everywhere of reports of casualties, emergency evacuations, and sightings of a mysterious man causing massive destruction in Suganami. While rushing out, Hyun-woo feels uneasy because he still hasn't learnt to use his mana yet and wonders if it's really okay to head into something so dangerous. Shi-hyun was driving the car and became confused just moments ago. Our guy said he was too lazy to go to Japan for mana training, and the sudden change confuses him. Hyun-woo brushes it off, saying some other business came up and that he might as well go now, to which Soo-hyun asks if Hyun-woo even has a passport. The hero pauses, realizing he doesn't, but with determination our hero decides that no matter what happens, he has to reach that climber. At the Japan Hunter Association branch, a tense meeting takes place. The officials are shocked to see Nakagawa alive, as news had already reported her death in a battle against Cheonma. After hearing this, she explains that she managed to survive by using a powerful artifact. The others discuss how overwhelming Cheonma's strength is. Since Nakagawa's supposed death had been broadcast worldwide, no hunters are willing to step forward and help. Even with several S-rank hunters gathered, they realize the outcome would likely remain the same. The casualties among civilians continue to rise, leaving them helpless to intervene. Nakagawa's eyes catch something unexpected on the screen, someone familiar appearing amidst the chaos. Hyun-woo steps into the area and immediately spots Cheonma ahead of him. When he tries to use his ability, the system refuses to activate, showing that it cannot work on a climber. Realizing this fight won't follow normal rules, the hero studies the figure in front of him, sensing something ancient and unusual about this one. Suddenly, Cheonma charges forward, swinging his sword with incredible force, to which Hyun-woo reacts quickly and dodges and becomes shocked by the incredible speed behind the attack. After that, our hero steadies himself and mutters in frustration at the sudden assault. But before he can think further, Cheonma moves again. Indeed, to the naked eye, it looks like a single slash, but our guy can feel that it's actually made up of dozens of strikes layered together, each capable of slicing him apart in an instant. He realizes that if even one hit lands, he'll be torn into countless pieces. Despite the danger, Hyun-woo keeps studying Cheonma's rhythm and searching for an opening, and quickly concludes that maintaining close distance might be his best option, because if he stays near, Cheonma won't be able to swing freely. Acting on instinct, Hyun-woo moves in, forcing the distance to shrink. After seeing this, Cheonma pauses for a moment, amused by Hyun-woo's choice to move inward. Moreover, Cheonma wonders about Hyun-woo's identity, remarking how on the earlier floors, no one had ever managed to challenge him. Meanwhile, far from the battlefield, the scene shifts to where Nakagawa and Shu-hyun monitor the situation. Reports confirm that the crevasse appeared around 2 in the afternoon. Further, Nakagawa explains that the event happened too suddenly and that they still have no clear way to measure the climber's power levels. After this, Shu-hyun recalls how our guy left the airport the moment he landed, and as he looks at the feed showing Hyun-woo standing near the distortion, he wonders if the protagonist somehow senses where and when crevasses will open. Back at the fight, the hero struggles to understand the force he's facing, questioning if what he's witnessing is even a skill at all, to which Cheonma declares that none of what he wields, his sword, his lightning, or his strength, comes from the artificial system of skills used by others. Hyun-woo's instincts scream for him to dodge, yet he realizes that stepping back would only widen the distance, giving Cheonma the advantage to unleash stronger attacks. So he holds his ground instead, gripping Cheonma's collar tightly, standing almost glued to him in defiance. Hyun-woo unleashes the Overlord's might but wonders if it had any real effect. After that, Cheonma steadies himself, and his expression shifts into one of genuine respect. For the first time, he admits that his opponent is not interesting but truly remarkable. Plus, Hyun-woo's strength has forced him to draw out his full power, something he hasn't done since the moment he first became a climber. Additionally, he refers to Hyun-woo as the Protector, acknowledging him as someone worthy of standing before him. As Cheonma's aura intensifies, he decides to end it and prepares another attack, but Hyun-woo realizes what's coming and runs forward, knowing that distance would only bring death, and becomes determined to close the gap before Cheonma can strike again. But Cheonma declares that this is the reason he is known as the Lightning God and the Sky, because his sword transforms into a radiant storm, and also lightning becomes so fierce. Indeed, the Raiden's blade descends with unstoppable force. Shu-hyun watches the scene in shock, unable to believe what he's seeing because the area hit by Cheonma's sword is completely erased, leaving no trace behind, and also it's clear to him now that the one fighting Hyun-woo isn't just strong, it's a real monster. Cheonma notices the hero is still standing and admits that his quick reaction saved him. Also, our hero managed to grab Cheonma's shirt during the attack and twist his body just enough to survive, though not completely unharmed. Later, a strange energy begins flowing through him, and soon electricity spreads across his body. The system activates, showing that Hyun-woo's mana has finally awakened. External mana forces its way into his body, boosting his strength rapidly and pushing his mana level higher. The sudden surge confuses him as he struggles to understand what's happening. Cheonma looks at him, wondering if his luck will continue a second time. Meanwhile, our guy realizes something important, that the power and fighting style in front of him match the legends he's read before. This man isn't just another climber, he's Cheonma, the martial artist known for reaching the peak through pure strength alone, the strongest among all. Cheonma becomes impressed that he still dares to fight even after witnessing the power of Raiden's blade, and also acknowledges Hyun-woo's courage but calls it pride, warning that his current strength isn't enough to defeat him, to which the hero admits that Cheonma is right that with his present abilities, victory is impossible. However, he also notices that Cheonma's lightning has damaged his mana pathways, changing something within him. Indeed, the protagonist recalls his time trapped in the tower, where he practiced countless martial arts. Among them was one legendary technique he could never master, the Heavenly Demon's divine art, and it was said to be the ultimate martial art, the one that made its users the strongest in the world. Furthermore, he explains that in the past, he had no true understanding of mana flow or how it connected to specific techniques. He merely copied what he had read in books, imitating the movements of the mythical Cheonma without grasping their essence. Now Hyunwoo humbly admits that for 10 seconds, Cheonma has been his teacher, and having learnt from him, he decides to return the favor. After that, he focuses all his mana into one point and releases it in a single explosive attack, a powerful move he calls Overlord's Divine Kick. The strike hits with force, and the system instantly notifies him that he has defeated the climber Cheonma Mu Wol, and his performance points start to be collected. Right after, another notification appears, revealing a mysterious system invitation with a countdown of 10 days, 3 hours, 8 minutes, and 11 seconds. The scene then shifts to the Imperial Castle. Miryong there recognizes the devastating power of Hyunwoo's final move, Overlord's Divine Kick, and trembles with emotion, realizing that the one who unleashed it is none other than her master, the same person who once taught her martial arts and was the first she ever truly served. Later, Miryong is seen discussing their guild's progress, through which she gets to know that only one area remains unconquered, which is the eastern dungeon controlled by the Wei Yan Guild. Once that's taken, the Imperial Guild will own all territories across China. Confidently, he declares that they will capture it within a month. To ensure success, Miryong decides to join the mission personally because she remembers the promise she made to her master that when his master returns to the world, she will have a place worthy of him. Miryong becomes determined to fulfill that vow to reunite with her master. After defeating Cheonma, the hero faces a chaotic crowd filled with reporters demanding answers about his powers and sudden appearance in Japan. He silences them and says Shihyun will explain everything, leaving his friend shocked and frustrated. Later, our guy relaxes in a room, commenting on how troublesome people have become. As he looks around, he notices a girl, Hong Rin, who expresses her gratitude, calling Hyunwoo her savior. He recalls that she's the same girl he rescued from the Ares Guild. According to her, she is an executive of the Imperial Guild and was captured during a battle when the Ares Guild tried to seize a dungeon owned by her guild. Tortured during captivity, she barely survived until our hero saved her. Though her story is tragic, Hyunwoo remains detached, not particularly curious about her past. Hyunwoo notices a tattoo on Hong Rin's shoulder and asks about it, to which she replies it's a mark of the Imperial Guild's executives, representing their place under the sky. Further, she adds that the guildmaster personally gave it to her, saying no one in the world stands above them except the one known as the sky. Hearing this, Hyunwoo freezes and suddenly yells for her to stop, but she grows nervous, thinking she made a mistake. Indeed, the hero realizes the real mistake was his own from the past, and the words she repeated were the same ones he once said long ago, things he desperately wanted to forget. The protagonist remembers his past in the tower when he foolishly believed enlightenment through martial arts would help him escape. Back then, he was deeply caught up in his own dramatic fantasies, imagining himself as someone born from darkness and loneliness, completely influenced by web novels and anime. Embarrassed by his old mindset, he curses and realizes that the very words he once said have now become a tattoo spreading his dark history. Our guy grows certain that the one responsible is his old student, the same person Hong Rin serves in the Imperial Guild. Frustrated, he tells her to deliver a message when she returns that her guildmaster must never come looking for him again. A few days after sending Hong Rin back to China, Hyunwoo appears on a popular hunter show hosted by Lee Hao-young. The audience immediately recognizes him as the famous hunter Kim Hyunwoo. Shi-hyun, watching the broadcast, seems surprised and wonders why our guy decided to appear on TV, saying he didn't know what the protagonist was planning and that whatever he does is his own business. During the interview, Hyunwoo explains that he came to make an announcement. He has formed a new guild and is looking for members to join. Later, Shi-hyun comments that Hyunwoo could have found guild members in a more normal way, to which the hero looks at the overwhelming response that shows up afterward and admits he didn't expect so many applications. Shi-hyun, uninterested in getting involved, reminds him that he won't be helping. Hyunwoo simply accepts it. Hyunwoo begins forming his new guild and calls on other guild masters to help with basic setup work. They're surprised that someone of his status would ask them to handle such simple tasks, but our guy reassures them they'll be allowed to use his beginner dungeons in return. When asked why he's even starting a guild, he explains that it's mainly to earn money since he already profits from dungeon raids. Managing his own dungeon would just increase his income. After hearing this, Shu-hyun finds it odd and points out that Hyunwoo already makes plenty of money, but our hero brushes it off casually. Later, the recruitment process begins, and many hunters line up to join. However, Hyunwoo is extremely strict. He rejects a well-known C-rank hunter despite his strong record, saying he simply didn't like his resume. The crowd is shocked, wondering what standards Hyun-woo is using. He reviews the applicant's stats, all ranked D except for luck, which is B rank, and concludes that even if the numbers are fine, he can't accept someone with a bad attitude and egotistical personality. Hyun-woo reviews a new skill he received after defeating Cheonma and realizes it might actually be useful, even though he had complained about earlier ones. The system, represented by Ave, congratulates him for the victory and explains that this time he's been invited to upgrade his skills instead of just increasing his information level. Also, Eve mentions that a new option has been added to his information authority skill, and that the notification performance has also been improved. At first, the hero seems unimpressed, wondering what the point of a personality check upgrade is, but during his ongoing guild interview process, he ends up finding it useful. He tests the skill on potential recruits, seeing different personality types like opportunistic, sacrificial, and friendship-based appear as results. Excited by the discovery, he quickly accepts all three types, feeling relieved that he finally found something practical. As long as his guild members do their jobs properly, he's satisfied, especially since he prefers not to put in much effort himself. After finishing the short guild interviews, Soo-hyun questions if it's really fine for the process to be that quick, to which Hyun-woo replies that he simply chose people he could trust not to steal money, and that's enough for him. When asked whether he checked their skills, the hero admits he didn't bother, saying he'll be the one doing most of the fighting anyway. As the two talk, Hyun-woo realizes that none of the applicants were S-ranked, to which Soo-hyun explains that S-ranks are rare, with only about 5,000 in the entire world. The protagonist thinks that sounds like a lot, but Soo-hyun clarifies that being in the top 200 is an incredible feat, as those hunters are recognized and sought after everywhere. Curious, our guy wonders what happens to the names that disappear from the ranking charts, to which Soo-hyun answers that they die. Hyun-woo is surprised, questioning how such powerful hunters could die so easily. Soo-hyun explains that they often perish while trying to obtain extremely rare ST+ grade artifacts found deep within the labyrinth. Every hunter has a natural limit to how far their abilities can grow, and these artifacts are the only way to surpass that barrier, but getting them means risking everything. Many die inside, and others obtain them through darker methods by killing those who already possess them. That's how some hunters end up becoming feared killers in their pursuit of power. He further explains that hunters who kill others for power are labeled as murderer hunters, and once they cross that line, their names are erased from the official S-rank list, and they're expelled from the system entirely. Hearing this, the protagonist realizes that the hunters sent by the Ares Guild were exactly those who rely on dirty tricks and violence to get what they want. Later, Hyun-woo visits one of the 4 beginner dungeons that he recently took from the Ares Guild, known as the Visible Swamp, and it's now considered his property, and he plans to check things out personally. He casually says he'll defeat the regenerated boss and look around to see how profitable it might be. When he arrives at the entrance, the staff nervously recognizes him and hesitates to let him in, mumbling that the transfer process isn't fully complete yet. Ignoring the awkwardness, Hyun-woo just walks inside confidently, declaring that since it's his dungeon now, there shouldn't be any problem. As he explores the dungeon, he senses something off, and soon, a stranger greets him. The man introduces himself, saying he was indeed sent by the Ares Guild, but isn't one of them. He then mentions a notorious group called Pandemonium, a faction of hunters infamous for killing their own kind. A deadly mercenary group called Pandemonium shows up, made of former top S-rank hunters who take assassination jobs for big pay. They carry a terrible reputation, and Hyun-woo hears the names of their famous members. One of them, Anya, boasts about being a powerful mage and claims responsibility for killing high-ranked targets, to which Hyun-woo stays calm and asks blunt questions to test her, which only makes the group angrier. Also, Anya uses a binding spell to try to stop him, but the situation quickly turns violent as the mercenaries rush forward to attack. The scene shifts to Xi'an, China, deep inside the Wei Yan Guild's hidden underground city. Miryong arrives, unimpressed despite hearing it was one of the guild's main bases, where she faces Asura demon Li Do Cheon, ranked 82nd among S-class hunters. His pride flares at her attitude, but she easily evades his attack, leaving him stunned. Deciding not to waste time, she uses a powerful technique to finish him off, wanting to meet her master as soon as possible. Before leaving, she delivers a message he once gave her to not look for him. Though it pains her that someone else met him before her, she finds comfort in knowing he's waiting too. With quiet determination, she vows to prepare everything for his return and fulfill her promise, ready to seize all that's needed for her master's sake. The scene shifts, and Hyun-woo returns to the Orang Guild with a surprising guest, Anya, a former top S-rank mage who fell into the mercenary group Pandemonium. Hanaran is shocked that he brought such a criminal back, while our hero explains that he beat her comrades to death and captured Anya alive. Horrified, Naren realizes those assassins were from Pandemonium, a group of elite former S-rank hunters known for always completing their kills. What's more, She can't believe Hyun-woo managed to take down such powerful enemies, especially since his stats were never at their level. The protagonist admits even he finds his stats strange, but since his information screen confirms it, he doesn't bother questioning it. Also, he jokes that asking Eve would only lead to the usual lack of authority response anyway. After that, our guy tells Naren not to worry about Anya, explaining that she's the type who values survival above all else, and if threatened, she'll obey anything to save her life. Terrified, Anya keeps pleading for mercy, promising that she can craft items and draw all kinds of magic circles without using basic spells. Hyun-woo checks her information screen, which lists her personality as survival-centered, confirming his assumption, and decides to give her a chance to prove herself. Since she mentioned she can work without using a staff, Hyun-woo hands her a set of powerful items, an S+ grade staff and an S+ grade robe taken from one of her fallen comrades. Naren becomes shocked after the mention of Gear's grade. The staff and robe he just gave Anya are both S+, something incredibly rare even among top-tier hunters. Before she can ask more, Hyun-woo tells her to watch over Anya while he heads out. When Naren asks where he's going, to which our guy simply replies by returning a favor since he received a gift, and it's only fair to give one back. Soon after, he arrives at a heavily guarded area belonging to the Ares Guild. Guards block his path, warning that outsiders aren't allowed inside unless they're guild members. Ignoring their words, Hyun-woo calmly asks if Hyuk Sun-woo is there. He then raises his weapon, a rod called Justice, and declares that he came to deliver a present to Sun-woo, and warns the guards not to complain later about being beaten by it, clearly ready to repay the Ares Guild in his own ruthless way. The hero storms into the Ares Guild building, swinging what looks like a harmless toy hammer, yet each attack sends people flying. The guild members panic, completely unable to understand how they're being crushed by something so ridiculous. Our guy mocks them as they try to resist, teasing that anyone standing in his way must be ready to die. Fear spreads fast, and someone rushes to warn the branch manager, Hyuk Sun-woo, that Hyun-woo is attacking everyone through the guild on call. Inside his office, Sun-woo is furious and horrified at the same time, and realizes that if word gets out that the powerful Ares Guild was taken down by a toy hammer, their reputation will be destroyed. To make matters worse, news channels are already reporting the bizarre incident, calling it a national embarrassment. In his room, Sun-woo debates whether to call headquarters for backup, but he hesitates. If he does, they'll see him as incompetent and question his leadership. Before he can decide, Hyun-woo casually walks into his office, greeting him as if visiting an old friend. Without waiting, the protagonist raises the toy hammer again, reminding Sun-woo about the damage compensation issue from before. Plus, he scolds him for sending assassins like Pandemonium, wondering if Sun-woo has a death wish. Realizing resistance is useless, Sun-woo quickly changes his tone, offering to cooperate and asking what Hyun-woo wants as compensation, to which Hyun-woo tells him to prepare 20 billion won, leaving Sun-woo cursing in disbelief. After that, Hyun-woo forces Sun-woo to agree to pay big compensation and warns him to think twice before sending killers again, or else he will make them pay. Indeed, our guy orders Sun-woo to call hospitals for the wounded, showing he means business, to which Sun-woo loses his temper and vows to get rid of Hyun, and also realizes he cannot call his headquarters for help without looking weak. With no other option, he decides to go to China and bring back a powerful fighter known as the Emperor Dragon, who ranks 5th in the world, hoping that will be enough to beat the hero. The scene shifts to where, on the 8th floor, Gui-A stands over the defeated Guardian and claims the final city as promised. The Guardian begs and fights weakly, but Gui-A advances step by step, ignoring the pleas. With each slow step, the Guardian cries out and falls until the attack ends on the 5th strike and the Guardian is finished. Gui-A laughs that this victory feels more like a 5-step wipe than a 10-step one and tells everyone to move on and enjoy the next floor. News explodes after Hyun-woo's attack on the Ares Guild. Live reports show dozens of ambulances at Ares, and many guild members rush to hospital, while CCTV and social media spread footage of Hyun-woo using a toy hammer. People laugh, gossip, and mock Ares, and rumors say Ares may have to transfer dungeon rights to our hero. Shihyun worries this could lead to criminal charges and detention, but Hyun-woo stays calm and reminds him that the guild threatened his life first and calls his actions self-defense, downplaying the damage. Also, he remembers he has a paid lecture job for beginner hunters from Japan and plans to attend because they're paying him a large fee, so he's not overly worried about the fallout. During his lecture, Hyun-woo suddenly receives a system alert, and a new climber has begun ascending through the 9th floor passage. The timer quickly runs out and the system invites him again. He's surprised another climber is appearing so soon, especially since his information authority hasn't been upgraded despite defeating Cheonma. Eve explains that while his authority level hasn't officially risen, a small amount of progress has accumulated. Also, she offers to brief him about the new climber. This time, the climber isn't alone, but is bringing multiple companions, which makes the hero wonder if it's similar to the crevasse monster he encountered earlier. but Eve clarifies that it's different, because lower-tier climbers like Hongma usually attract monsters from the crevasse, which the system spawns to help them end the world. However, those summoned creatures aren't true comrades. After that, the hero confirms with Eve that the approaching climber must be mid-tier or higher, to which she replies that it's a mid-tier one, but stronger than most at that level. When he asks if it's even stronger than Cheonma, to which Eve nods, our guy finds that exciting since defeating such a climber could likely raise his information authority. The scene then shifts to the Orang Guild. Hyun-woo enters, kicking the door open again, which immediately annoys Narin. She scolds him for using his foot and warns he'll break it one day, to which our hero laughs it off, saying he did it unconsciously, and explains that he just came to check on the progress of their work. Anya nervously reports that she's almost done fixing the magic circle and it'll be stronger and last longer this time, to which Hyun-woo praises her effort but suggests trying something new instead. Since her unique skill is teleportation, he tells her to draw a teleportation circle. As she begins, Narin suddenly realizes and looks shocked to hear that teleportation is Anya's unique skill. Later, Narin questions why Anya never used her teleportation ability to escape if she had it all along, to which Anya explains nervously that her skill can't be activated with her own mana, and she needs a magic circle's support to use it. But Anya hurriedly adds that she never actually tried to run away anyway. At that moment, a system alert announces that the climber has reached the 9th floor located in Germany, to which Narin asks where the hero plans to go using Anya's teleportation, to which he calmly replies that his destination is Germany. The scene shifts to Leipzig, Germany, where the Schuhvisor Guild faces off against Gui-ai. Surrounded by a large group of S-rank hunters, the guildmaster demands that Gui-ai surrender, promising to spare her life if she does. After hearing this, Gui-ai mocks their arrogance, amused by their confidence in numbers. No matter how strong she is, she can't withstand the combined attacks of so many high-ranked hunters. After hearing this, Gui-ai finds their belief laughable. Moreover, Gui-ai declares that just as they have their comrades, she too will fight alongside his own. Introducing herself as the embodiment of their deepest fears, the master of everything imagined in the dark, the force that devours courage, and the leader of the Hyakki Yagyo, the mysterious god of chaos. Meanwhile, back at the Orang Guild, Hyun-woo checks on Anya's progress with the teleportation circle, to which Anya reports that it will take 5 more hours to complete. Suddenly, Narin bursts in with alarming news that a crevasse has opened in Germany and adds that reinforcements have been requested from him, and the topic has already taken over the global news. Hyun-woo scrolls through his phone, seeing headlines glorifying him as Korea's proud hunter and international hero, though he's clearly irritated by the exaggerated coverage. Indeed, Narin wonders silently if Hyun-woo has always been someone who steps up out of pure goodwill. Meanwhile, in Germany, Gui-ai proposes a sinister game to the hunters before him and announces that she will remain in the city for 24 hours. If anyone manages to defeat her during that time, she will end his conquest and withdraw peacefully. Plus, the attack keeps going otherwise, so she warns she will move on and destroy the next city if no one can stop her. The damage is massive. About 20,000 civilians are reported hurt or dead, and the deployed hunters suffered catastrophic losses. 32 S-rank hunters and 68 A-rank hunters were wiped out, making this crisis worse than the crevasse incident in Japan. Attempts to call the world's top S-rank hunters for help mostly fail, leaving the local groups overwhelmed. Then news breaks that Kim Hyun-woo, the Korean hunter who defeated Cheonma in Japan, is being sent as reinforcement, giving everyone a sudden tense hope. Hyun-woo arrives in Germany through teleportation and wonders at how easy the magic makes travel. The moment he lands, he kicks away a weak monster nearby, irritated by its noise, then looks around, wondering where the real threat is. Meanwhile, thousands are watching the live broadcast online, flooding the chat with disbelief and excitement as news confirms his arrival in Germany. The viewers can't believe it's real that the hero himself has come to face the disaster. Soon, Gui-ai appears before him, calling him the first challenger. Our guy mocks her old-fashioned way of speaking, asking if only her mouth has aged, to which Gui-ai coldly remarks that he talks too much. But Hyun-woo clicks his tongue and criticizes her for turning the city into ruins, asking if she plans to take responsibility. She laughs at the question, saying she can't tell whether he's being arrogant or just foolish, but the protagonist stands firm and tells her it's none of her business either way. Afterwards, Gui-ai's tone turns, and she calls Hyun-woo a foolish floorman, saying she usually takes her time with first challengers, but his attitude has crossed the line. Additionally, she recalls how the dragon once survived 5 steps, and another arrogant man who called himself the world's strongest lasted 7. With a cruel smile, she decides to see how long Hyun-woo can endure. As she begins her deadly march, each step shakes the surroundings, and the hero immediately senses something wrong because the mana around them is shifting unnaturally. Her steps aren't normal because they're expanding and crushing the entire space with immense energy. He realizes those steps themselves are the weapon, and he must stop her from walking any further. Our hero braces himself, gathering all his power and launching his strongest attack, But with every step, 4, 5, 6 steps, the pressure grows heavier, and by the 7th step, his body trembles as his own mana spirals out of control, expanding against his will. The crushing force feels unbearable, as though his body might tear apart, yet he refuses to yield and pushes forward. Gui Ai watches with admiration and notes that he's stronger than the previous contender who called himself the world's strongest. Her steps continue 8, 9 until finally, the 10th lands. She congratulates him mockingly, saying he almost stopped her 9 steps, but failed to block the last one, and find the 10th step falls. With his opponent's energy flowing down on our hero, he can feel his body being ripped apart. The climber is amazed by his ability to withstand the full force of her 10 steps technique. She explains that because Hyunwoo could endure her force, the damage to the area was minimal. Otherwise, on the previous floor, the whole city was devastated in 5 steps. Our protagonist realizes that Eve was right about this climber being stronger than Cheonma. The climber thinks our hero has no energy to fight anymore, and asks him if he's going to beg for his life, or courageously wait for his death. However, our hero only wishes to destroy her. The climber gets serious for a moment and starts laughing at our hero, calling him different from the others. But then, she promises to give her all into this fight, using all her mana that she, as the god of chaos, can use. As she starts to summon her power, our hero realizes that this time it's different and way heavier than before. As the attack lands on Hyunwoo, he starts getting hurt. But then, the system notifies that he has stopped mana expansion from happening internally. Our hero's durability level increases. Seeing how it was at S before, and he could withstand the abnormal damage earlier, our hero feels confident that with this level up, he can definitely take the next hit. Right then, the system again notifies that the external mana is forcibly entering Hyunwoo's body, and his mana is being awakened forcibly. Suddenly, his mana rank increases too. Our hero realizes it's the same that happened with Cheonma. He starts smiling in joy, trying to think of something to do. Suddenly, he remembers his tens of thousands of masters in the tower. All those characters from web novels, comics, and anime were just fictional characters combined together, but for our protagonist, they were his masters. From his masters, our hero learned the technique of the Destroyer. It was used by Asura to stop the demon god in the myths. Our hero starts focusing on his technique and seeing the energy summon. The climber is left shocked. Seeing the 4 arms conjured behind our hero's back, the monster realizes that she's way in over her head, and she needs to end the fight quickly. She starts her steps, but the magic hand grabs her foot before she can even count 1 step. She tries to escape and take the 2nd step, but our hero grabs her other foot too. The god of chaos grows angry and continues her steps. Her 10-step extermination is a stacking skill that doesn't weaken just because she failed to take 1 step. She tries to stack it again, but our hero refuses to let her finish. She realizes that her strength is not stacking anymore, and grows angry that our hero can actually stop her. She continues her 4th step, and the energy rains down on our hero again. The climber starts boasting about her strength, thinking that her power must be crushing our protagonist down. As she takes the 5th step, laughing in glory, Hyunwoo steps on her foot and tells her that her power is worse than before. The god of chaos is too shocked to say anything. Our hero takes his turn to show what real power is like. He uses his martial arts nullifying fist, and the climber is shocked seeing the sheer power in front of her. Our protagonist uses his nullifying fist to end the game, and as the energy rains down on her, the mysterious god of chaos freezes in shock, seeing her life end in an instant. Suddenly, the system congratulates Hyunwoo for capturing the mysterious god of chaos and invites him. Our hero is teleported to Eve, who welcomes him and thanks him for taking down the god of chaos. She informs him that as a result of the fight, his information authority has now increased from low to mid-low. Eve informs our protagonist that she has invited him here to inform him about his authority promotion. Hyunwoo realizes that this is the first time he's been called in after taking down a climber, but his assistant just wanted to inform him as soon as possible. Our protagonist realizes that the room has grown bigger than before. Eve explains every time he gains authority by defeating a climber, her room changes too. She further adds that his new upgrades also include the ability to decorate the room. By imagining the room interior and pressing a button, our hero can transform the space into his imagination. Our hero presses the button, and the room is suddenly changed into the tower's 1st floor, leaving Eve amazed. He presses the button again, and the space transforms into his room. Eve is amazed with the room's decorations, because although she knows how to use the button, she doesn't have the authority to do it herself. It's her first time seeing the room on the 9th floor. Our hero starts to pity his assistant as she explains that she has always been in this room ever since she was created, and she just sleeps on the table when tired. With the increased authority, Eve explains that our hero's information authority and the notifications along with the entry skill have also been upgraded. With this entry skill, our protagonist can enter the space without invitation once a day. This skill could be convenient for Hyunwoo to allow him to ask about stuff when he has something. Hyunwoo checks the information screen after the upgrades and notices that his stats on the screen seem to be significantly lower than his actual stats. With only a mid-low authority, Eve can only explain some parts of it. She explains that the creator of the tower put a limit to stop people from getting too strong in the tower. Therefore, a player's stats could only rise to a certain extent. However, this limit is only within the system, and our hero's actual stats are developed far more than what the system shows. So, while the stats on screen are limited, the Guardian's body has continued to grow. Hyunwoo gets curious to know about the difference between his on-screen stats and actual stats, but with his mid-low authority, Eve can't answer him. He then asks about the reason behind him being locked in the tower, but she refuses to answer that too. Furious and eager to quickly increase his information authority, our protagonist asks when a high-tier climber will come, but all Eve can tell him is that it'll end the world. Meanwhile, at the Weeyon Guild building in Shanghai, China, Mi Ryong grabs Hyunchun by the throat. She feels disappointed by her opponent's strength because she found him interesting as a high executive of the guild, but now he's just too boring for her. She throws Hyunchun off the building and turns to Cheon-young. He tells her that he has prepared the high-definition video of our protagonist's German crevasse fight. Mi Ryong watches the footage, and seeing our hero's nullifying fist, she starts blushing and giggling. She feels happy to see her master still as she imagined, and asks Cheon-young for details about the situation of her guild in the area. Her assistant answers that the Imperial Guild now possesses over 92% of dungeons, and the remaining are also owned by people obeying the Imperial Guild. So, the guild has complete possession of all the dungeons in China. Hearing this, Mi Ryong feels relieved that her vows are completed. Mi Ryong is taken into a flashback, remembering her days with her master in the tower. Before leaving, she promised to make a spot for him at a high place. Looking back, she now feels confident that it's time to meet her master. Meanwhile, our hero receives the reward list from Germany, asking him to come to live in their country. Shi-hyun reads the list and sees Germany offering full tax exemption along with a house, car, and guild office. Seok-won-hyung finds these rewards weirder than the ones from Japan and asks about Cheonma's sword from before. Seo-yeon gets upset when she learns that Shu-hyun got it instead of her, but our hero reminds her about the magic circle and the item from the murderer hunter he gave her. However, Seo-yeon is still curious why our protagonist just goes around stopping crevasses, and her friends share her curiosity. Hyunwoo answers that he has no reason except for the fact that he enjoys beating up guys who pretend to be strong. Meanwhile, our hero reflects on how the tutorial tower randomly appeared with monsters and summoned everyone in. He was summoned forcibly in the first round and was trapped there for 12 years. He destroyed it over 1,000 times from the first to the 100th floor. All his comrades who joined with him left while he was constantly forced back to the first floor. Hyunwoo intends to find out the reason behind his lockup. After 3 crevasses, his authority increased from the lowest to the mid-low tier. Our MC's friends see his long face and feel like he's worried about something, but he assures them that he has nothing to worry about. 10 days after the mysterious god of chaos is defeated, Lee Hae-young, the host of Know Your Hunters, goes live with our hero as her special guest. She asks for his remarks on some things he said in the previous conferences, but our hero answers that he said nothing but the truth. Lee Hae-young takes the answer with enthusiasm and proceeds to her hot topic. She plays footage where our hero is asked to explain his unique skills. Our protagonist casually answers that he doesn't even have normal skills, let alone unique ones, and all he uses are the martial arts he created in the tower. The footage ends, and the host excitedly announces that because of this, the martial arts community has begun to rise once again. She then introduces her 2 guests, masters of martial arts, for advice. Our hero turns around excitedly to look at the martial arts masters. The masters boast about their blue dragon sword mastery and their practical martial arts, claiming that it turns one's body into a weapon. Our hero stomps his foot down in annoyance that they're using his name to sell out their fraud. He pulls his sword out to clarify the situation and calls out the frauds for using his name without knowing anything about the martial arts. He reminds them that he's just strong, and the martial arts are not the reason why he's a strong hunter. The camera crew continues recording as our hero proceeds to display his skills. He takes the sword, and the martial arts master is left surprised seeing his dragon strike stance. Our hero tells everyone to carefully watch how he uses a sword. He suddenly remembers the web novel he read and decides to try that. He swings the sword and releases the blue dragon ray, shocking the whole crew. He once again reminds everyone that he's the strong one and warns them to not mess around using his name. Our protagonist proceeds to leave when the girl at the computer desk speaks up. At first, he fails to recognize Anya with her face now changed. He asks her if the work is acceptable, and Anya, scared, answers yes. Hyunwoo makes it clear that he hates his enemies, but he lets her live because she's convenient. He makes it clear that he will treat Anya like a normal hunter. Anya hesitantly answers that it's great, and our hero reminds her to stay like that without betraying him or running away. He tells her to tell him anything she has and leaves. In her 10 days of work at the guild's account office, Anya finds the workload good, but she wonders if living like this is okay. Suddenly, a fax arrives about the dungeon transfer issues. Meanwhile, at the Incheon airport, Cheon-mung warns the branch that making a request to the Imperial Guild is too dangerous. They think our hero took away their dungeons and the money. Along with his control of the dungeons, Hyuk Sun-woo also lost his authority along with it. He assures Cheon-mung that he will do everything to kill Hyun-woo. Seeing the branch manager, Cheon-mung knows that he won't back off. With his monopolization ended, Hyuk Sun-woo doesn't care if a few more dungeons are taken over. He has brought all he had and is willing to give any dungeons, money, or artifacts to attract and kill our hero. The Ares Guild founder, Martin Brand, learns about Sun-woo transferring some dungeons to the guild. The assistant calls it a mistake on the branch manager's end, but Martin only approves mistakes if they're fixed. So, he considers a mistake reported to him before being fixed a failure. The assistant apologizes, but Martin assures him that it's Hyuk Sun-woo who made the mistake, and failures like him are not needed in the guild. The assistant now understands he has to fix the mistake, and while he does that, his boss plans to get his dungeons back. In China, Sun-woo stands outside the Imperial Guild's building. The guildmaster invited him to see the face of the person making the request, and he wonders why that is because Chun Myung was the one who contacted them. Hyuk Sun-woo starts wondering if making a request to the Imperial Guild was dangerous. However, he remains committed as long as it helps him get rid of his enemy. Right then, the guard invites him in, and Hyuk Sun-woo smiles, thinking it's the end of Hyun-woo. Hyuk Sun-woo enters through the gate where the Imperial Guild's guildmaster, Mi Ryong, sits. However, as he steps through the gate, he's surprised to see a girl sitting on the throne. He bows before her in respect and introduces himself. Mi Ryong confirms with her guest his request to kill someone. But when Sun-woo tries to tell the name, a sudden fear takes over him, warning him from saying our hero's name. But he knows that he's dead anyway if he returns empty-handed. So, he tells the Imperial Dragon that he wants Hyun-woo dead and promises to pay her 80 trillion won and 20% of Ares Korean branch's dungeons. Mi Ryong explodes in anger hearing her master's name. She attacks Sun-woo, causing an explosion. Sun-woo sits trembling, confused, not knowing why someone who owns the whole of China is reacting like that. Seeing her call our hero her master, he begs Mi Ryong to stop and tells her that she's confused. After confirming that Mi Ryong thinks Hyun-woo is her master and that she met him in the tower, Hyuk Sun-woo realizes that he has a way to get out of this. Seeing that she's from Korea, he tells her that Hyun-woo is not her master. He explains that all 158 towers are designated to different towers. The tower in Korea only summons people from Korea, while the towers in America are divided across states. Sun-woo explains that since Mi Ryong is from Korea, she could never have met Hyun-woo because he was stuck in the Korean tower for 12 years. Mi Ryong hits Sun-woo again, angered that he's telling her she's confused. She assures him that she's not confused because she did not clear the tower in China. Back then, she followed her father's orders to go to Korea and was dragged into the tower there. Sun-woo tries to convince her that she's mistaken, but that only offends the Imperial Dragon even more for denying her master. Mi Ryong built her whole appearance as what her master wanted. Her long hair, her master's mark engraved on her back, and even her name. By denying her master, Hyuk Sun-woo denies her. The Imperial Dragon starts getting angry and intends to not let him die in peace. She decides to punish Hyuk Sun-woo for trying to kill her master and denying her to save himself. Meanwhile, our hero and his assistant enjoy the TV in Eve's room. At first, he thought his skill was pointless, but now he's engaged in all the dramas he wanted to watch. Eve asks him to make her a PlayStation because she can only maintain the system and not make things. Our protagonist makes her a PlayStation, and Eve hugs him in excitement. Seeing her happy, he feels like having a daughter. Then, Eve proceeds to tell him something but cautions that she could be mistaken too. Suddenly, our protagonist is teleported back to his friends. They see him frozen completely and not eating food. Hyun-woo falls into deep thought, remembering Eve's words that there may be a climber on the 9th floor that he's on. But it's just a prediction, so she's not sure. Before our hero exited the tower, 3 crevasses appeared. Normally, they are supposed to disappear, but the 2 crevasses still not disappearing makes her suspicious. Won Hyung asks to tag along with our hero to Germany. Hyun-woo intends to return right away after finishing his business, but Won Hyung wants to tour the country. Our hero believes that the whole city will be in ruins anyway after the incident, but Seo Yeon informs him it's probably recovered because of the mage-class hunters. She explains that the mages with magic circles can rapidly help the city, making years' worth of work into days. She adds that the mages are the reason cities aren't turned to wastelands when monsters and crevasses are constantly coming out. The reason Hyun-woo's friends want to come to Germany with him is because of an auction happening a day after his award ceremony. They explain to him that the International Hunters Association is hosting an auction in Germany this year. They want to go with him through teleportation because it saves them from boarding a plane. Our hero agrees, and his friends assure him that he'll enjoy the auction because it handles strictly selected items. Hyun-woo learned that the Hunters Association thought that the remaining crevasses were due to their rank. If Eve is right, then there are currently 2 climbers on the 9th floor. Our hero's information authority doesn't work on climbers, so he can find out who it is by checking everybody. However, that's just too much work. Our protagonist knows he needs to get stronger. The previous 2 fights made him stronger, but they were only mid-tier, and a high-tier climber could appear anytime. Without realizing, he says out loud that he needs to prepare, confusing Seo Yeon. Meanwhile, Chun Myung burns the contract and assumes that Sun Woo is probably dead since he hasn't returned yet. With the branch manager meeting his end, Chun Myung thinks about running away. With all the evidence burned away, he thinks his money should be enough to keep him hiding and assumes the office wouldn't bother looking for him, blaming Sun Woo. However, just as Chun Myung reaches out for the door, an assassin cuts his hand off. The knight plays with him and jokes about missing his shot. Chun Myung recognizes the knights. The murderer hunters under the main office were the knights made up of people in the top 40 rankings. He now realizes that escape is no longer possible. The knight clears his confusion and tells him that he should know why the knights are here. Chun Myung tries to run away, but the knight stabs him with a knife. Another knight walks in, surprised at the quick kill, and the two proceed to leave. The knight explains to his fellow that Hyuk Sun Woo has been caught by the Imperial Guild, so they might not even need to take care of him. After he entered the castle, thick mana exploded out of there, so the knights assume that Hyuk Sun Woo is dead already. If he's still alive, they decide to take care of him once he returns. The other knight is surprised when his fellow informs him that 4 knights are going to take care of our hero. However, realizing that he took care of 2 catastrophes, the knight understands the manpower needed to deal with him. He starts boasting about the powerful artifacts, but his fellow stops him from revealing his secret rank. Meanwhile, the auction in Germany starts. Everyone keeps asking our hero to take off his jersey, but our hero doesn't care about people's complaints. Besides, the people have already accepted his dressing style now. Even when he attended the award ceremony in his regular attire, there wasn't a single news article mentioning it. Seo Yan starts looking through the items at the auction and realizes there aren't any S+ artifacts. However, our hero has an S+ artifact dropped by the mysterious god of chaos that he got at the award ceremony. He's confused, seeing no skills or adjustments on the artifacts. However, Hyun Woo doesn't think he'll get much money since the artifact is too small to be used as a weapon. He starts looking through the description, and the whole low information authority makes him even more curious. He starts looking at the other items. The auction continues, and our hero examines the item descriptions. The auctioneer announces the giant spear of Aslan. Our protagonist examines its description, but the whole no authority thing annoys him, and he leaves the auction. So Hyun Woo decides to take a walk outside. Suddenly, someone knocks out the guards and attacks him. Our protagonist sees the attack coming and dodges. He continues blocking the knight's attack and throws him away. He's confused seeing the hunters. The knights tell him that they're here to kill him and start boasting about their skills and ranks. However, our MC is too tired of the wannabes flexing their skills. He throws a rock at one of the knights, knocking him out. He tells them that they always talk too much for someone who gets knocked out easily, and this time, he intends to punish them. Meanwhile, the boss receives the report that the knights couldn't kill his target. He tells his assistant to tell number 5 to make sure his mistake doesn't come up. Seeing the fight, Martin Brand thinks that his knights would have started the ambush or will be in the combat. However, the assistant worries that the knights face a powerful opponent and they lack the skills to fight. After learning who the knights sent for Hyun Woo were, Martin Brand assures his assistant that it's fine. Martin didn't think his knights would deal with his opponent anyway. All he wants to do is test how his artifacts affect our hero, and he's got something else to check too. Meanwhile, the assistant informs the creator that the 2 climbers, Cheon Ma and Mi Ryong, have been taken down. The creator is surprised because he thought the guardian would end up becoming the climber's sacrifice. He then asks who the next climber is, but that is not decided yet. The creator now grows eager to look forward to the next unexpected obstacle for our hero. Back home, Shuhyun sees the bag of artifacts our hero gathered from the auction house. He mentions how surprised they all were seeing Hyun Woo stand on top of the corpses. Luckily, the security cameras recorded everything. Unfortunately, our protagonist couldn't find out their identities because they all killed themselves when he tried to interrogate them. Even the cameras couldn't record their faces clearly thanks to their cognitive impairment magic, and our hero ended up bursting their heads, making it even more difficult to identify them. Our MC argues that he couldn't control his strength, but his friend knows it was just a one-sided battle. Hyun Woo was slightly taken aback by the knights' combined attacks, but he easily destroyed them while trying out his new techniques. However, our protagonist believes he wouldn't have found out the attacker's identity anyway, because they probably would have had all their records destroyed. Shihyun then walks out, saying that he needs to buy some souvenirs before heading back to Korea. Hyunwoo takes out the weapons from the bag. He picks it up and decides to examine it. The first weapon is revealed to be an S+ grade starvation spear of Bjorg. He checks out the hidden information, but most of it remains censored due to low authority. However, all the artifacts that the attackers had the same name. Seeing the artifacts, our MC doesn't think they're from the labyrinth. Their weird explanation and weird names make him wonder if they are all artificially created. However, he wonders if that is even possible. No matter how much he tries, he can't find any information about its creation, which only makes him think that something serious is going on. So, Hyunwoo decides to rethink the whole thing. The knights from the other night were more skilled than the hunters he had faced before. They knew about our hero's location and ambushed him fully prepared. he draws out two possibilities. The attackers were either sent by the Ares Guild or were mercenaries. However, our protagonist has no enemies other than the Ares Guild, so that leaves them the only option. He then turns his attention back to the artifacts but realizes there's no point in that. He decides that finding out the person behind the knights is more important than the artifact. Our hero thinks that Hyuk Sun Woo is still after him and decides to deal with him for the last time. He heads to the Ares Guild building and beats up a person to ask about Hyuk Sun Woo's whereabouts. The man trembles in fear and tries to tell our hero that he doesn't know, but Hyun Woo refuses to take that answer. He knows that his enemy is not in the building and asks the employee about where he is. Seeing his anger, the man finally gives up and promises to answer his question. He tells our hero that Hyuk Sun Woo left 4 days ago without informing anyone, and he said that he's going to Beijing, China, to meet the Imperial Guild Master. Later that night, our hero asks his friend Shi Hyun what he knows about the Imperial Guild. Shi Hyun explains that the Imperial Guild now controls all the dungeons in China. Our hero is shocked because he was told the guild only owned 50% the last time. Hearing that now they have full control, our hero wonders if it's that easy to take over. Shi Hyun explains that taking over the dungeons is not easy. Although Hyun Woo himself has been taking the dungeons by himself, there was originally a lot of hassle to it. But in China, force was all that was needed. Our protagonist thinks that this just means the strongest one dictates, but his friend answers that China wasn't always like that. He further adds that in the beginning all the dungeons belonged to the country, so the transfer process was very complicated. However, 3 to 4 years ago, it all suddenly changed. The rumors were that the person to change the law like that was the Imperial Guild's guildmaster. This all happened at the right time. The Imperial Guild appeared right after the law was changed and started expanding. Our hero takes from that the Imperial Guild's guildmaster was already a big shot in China before the whole thing, but the rumors can't be trusted. Hyun Woo starts thinking if he ever discussed the outside world with his disciple and decides to think back on his conversations with her. He remembers Mi Ryong kneeling before him, talking about who she is, but he just shut her up. Our hero told the little girl that she's her disciple. The girl tries to resist, wanting to go along with her group to survive, but he refuses to listen. In her training, as the little girl stands before a monster, she begs her master to help her, worried that she'll die. Our hero assures his disciple that he will not let her die and he will protect her. When Mi Ryong finished her tower tutorial, she didn't want to leave because she wanted to learn more from her master. But our protagonist tells her that she no longer needs lessons. She's not the weak girl she used to be, and no one can force her to do anything. So he tells her to leave and never forget her lessons. He tells her that nothing except him is above her and everything is beneath her. Our protagonist now realizes that everything he said was nonsense. He tries to remember what the girl told him, but he can't recall because he just ignored it. Realizing he can't remember much, he asks his friend for any more information. Shi Hyun explains he doesn't know much except that the rumors say the guild is like an empire. So our hero gets up and prepares to leave for Beijing, China. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Guild Palace, China, Mi Ryong sleeps in bed looking back at her life. It's been 4 years since the tower. It changed her because she learned for the first time how weak she was. As the tower broke her spirit, she met her master. Mi Ryong lived like a doll and spent money as her father, and the political circles told her to. Her master gave her affection. Unlike her dad, who didn't care for her, Mi Ryong's master taught her to stand up for herself and saved her. With no forces left in China to go against her guild, she looks forward to meeting her master again. She looks up to the sky, waiting for her master to come. At a hotel in Beijing, the Knights 5 and 8 freak out for being told to hunt down the man who killed their other fellows. They're scared to face him, but they have no options because they have to prioritize their tasks. They decide to stay in China to kill Hyuk Sun Woo first, but wonder why the boss ordered them to stop our hero. 5 and 8 know the man they have to hunt is too powerful, and Knights 1 to 3 will be perfect for him. There are 10 members in the Ares Knights, each numbered according to their strength, but that doesn't mean the bottom ones are weak. Instead, their powers have been increased by artifacts. However, they know it's best to not mess with someone who killed 4 of the knights so easily. Suddenly, they feel an earthquake, and a man is slammed into the wall. The knight turns around to hit the intruder, but the intruder slams him too. The knight raises his sword to block the attack, but the attacker smashes his sword. He confronts them for killing Chun Myung. The knight is confused, and suddenly all the swords point at his face. The man grabs the knight's head and smashes him into the ground. Since the knights killed Chun Myung, who the guildmaster was supposed to kill, the fighters have no choice but to take them. The next day at the Erang Guild training room, Seo Yoon tells our hero that he shouldn't go if he doesn't want to. However, our hero himself didn't go through a bad phase because his parents died in his teens, and he was too focused on survival. But he turned dark when he was in the tower, which wouldn't have been a problem if that didn't come out of the tower. But the problem is that his disciple is spreading that darkness all over China. Our hero sees the Imperial Guild's news but quickly ignores it, focusing on dealing with Hyuk Sun Woo and returning soon. However, Seo Yeon's concern is that this teleportation to another country is illegal immigration. but our hero ignores her concern, saying he's not going on a vacation, while Seo Yan is left worried that he might cause new problems. Our hero leaves through the teleportation circle, and Seo Yan worries that this time, he might not be able to handle stuff on his own. She then turns her focus to the girl making teleportation, and sees how tired she is working overnight. She walks over to the girl to ask her about something. Meanwhile, our protagonist reaches the Imperial Guild's palace in China, and to his shock, his words to his disciple are written at the gate in bold letters. Suddenly, the guards walk in and see him as an intruder. Our hero realizes that he can't leave things like this, and takes a giant leap through the wall with the intention to destroy everything and then kill Hyuk-sun Woo. He breaks the board with his words on it. The guards call for reinforcements. Hyun-woo runs towards the guards, recognizing his mask. As he closes in, he's shocked to see them use his techniques. All of it was just a concept, but the techniques used by our MC were real martial arts. He's surprised that his disciple taught them everything. Realizing how wrong it all is, Hyun-woo suddenly stops and starts moving around using his techniques. The guards see our hero suddenly disappear and appear in front of their faces. He uses his Demon King strike and sends everyone flying. However, this time he controlled his power so that no one died. Suddenly, Mi-ryung calls our hero Master as she walks behind him. She recognizes his martial arts, technique, and posture and the gaze that looked over her. She walks up to him and asks our hero if he's her master. Hyun-woo speaks up and calls her his disciple. Mi-ryung did everything for her master. She changed the laws and the people, made a guild, and the names she learned were useless. She did everything for her master, who now stands before her. She bows before our hero, counting the days down to the seconds that she waited for him. The guild master of China's greatest guild, the 5th ranked in the world, the Imperial Dragon, bows to her master. Mi-ryung takes our hero to his throne and asks him to take a seat. Seeing his disbelief, she thinks he doesn't like the chair and tells him she'll have the maker executed. Hyun-woo is shocked hearing the girl's words and orders her to stay still. He sits on the throne and sees its elegance. He wonders how much money was spent on it. He wonders why he's sitting on the throne because he's not this kind of person. But Mi-ryung's obedient gaze is just too pressuring for him. Our protagonist wonders why this girl is like that because their relationship wasn't like that. He just saved her in the tower and gave her his martial arts. Until this part, it was normal, but all the teachings were only one-sided, and he didn't care much about it after leaving the tower. He calls his disciple to say something but then stops himself. Seeing her obedience, our hero starts sweating, confused why she's so favorable to him even after he tortured her so many times. However, he stops thinking much about it, but stopping Mi-ryung from spreading his cruel history over the world still remains his mission. He then uses his information authority to read her stats. Her personality shows as loyal, but seeing her extraordinary stats, he realizes she's not normal either. Hyun-woo then tells his disciple that he has a lot to say to her but asks about Hyuk-sun Woo first. Meanwhile, Hyuk-sun Woo lies crying in pain when our hero notices his withered condition. Mi-ryung explains that she took care of him for trying to assassinate her master, making our hero cheer up in excitement. Our MC kicks Hyuk-sun Woo to wake him up. The branch manager gets shocked seeing our hero and starts begging him to save him. He calls Mi-ryung crazy, which makes her burn up in anger. Our hero promises to let Hyuk-sun Woo live, but only on the condition that he tells him everything about Germany from the beginning. Meanwhile, in some underground bunker in New York, the Knights get another task, but they complain about being too tired. However, their boss tries to bribe them with an SST plus grade artifact that will help the 1 in 6th rank aim for the top. The Knights get excited hearing that they can raise the stats by 2 levels. Raising levels is difficult, which is why the hunters go to the labyrinths. But the Knights can't believe their new artifact will raise it by 2 levels. So, their boss decides to show them the artifact that has never been revealed to the world before. At the Goguryeo Guild's head office, Soo-hyun asks his friend when they're going on another expedition to the labyrinth. Soo-kwon-hyun answers that his last artifact is still decent, so he isn't sure about his new expedition yet. Seo-yeon wonders why Shi-hyun is in such a rush because he still has his artifacts from the last time. However, Shi-hyun feels like he should level up his stats now. All of their rankings have been pushed behind because their stats have been just stagnant. Suk-hyun-woo argues that they've just been focused on maintaining the guild. However, Shi-hyun feels smaller after staying beside our hero. At the Imperial Guild, the disciple leads our hero to the Ares Guild assassins. Having fulfilled his end, Hyuk-sun Woo asks if he's now going to live. Our hero assures him that he will live and asks his disciple about the prison in the building basement. Mi-ryung explains that the prison was made by modifying a D-ranked rat's dungeon. Endless man-eating rats swam there, and anyone over C+ rank will be immune to attacks. However, they'll still be in endless pain unless they can escape. Our hero decides to put Hyuk-sun Woo in prison for 30 days. He tries to resist, but the disciple obeys the command and drags him out. Hyun-woo picks up the ring dropped by the prisoners. Upon examining it, he sees that it's the same as the ones he found at the auction. Since the prisoners are from the Ares Guild, he refuses to let them go. Our hero then proceeds to leave. His disciple worries that he's going out and asks if he will not lead her. Our hero says that he will discuss that with her later. She tries to talk, but he refuses to repeat himself. He tells her that he will talk to her after dealing with Ares' guild first. After our protagonist leaves, Mi Ryong turns to her disciples and orders them to kill any Ares guild members found in the area. Hyun-woo takes the ring to Eve. She examines it and realizes that the ring isn't an artifact because they are created by bringing objects created on other floors to the labyrinths after grading them with different methods, such as legends or their backstories, or giving them skills and adjustments. Our hero wonders what happens to the other floors if the objects are taken from them. Eve explains that those floors would simply be erased out of existence because the climbers need to destroy a floor in order to climb the tower. Our hero then wonders what exactly the ring is. Eve believes that it's a well-made copy made by a climber. Our protagonist now wonders if the Ares Guild has something to do with the climber. He remembers Eve mentioning the possibility of 2 climbers on his floor, and realizes that he might end up getting clues about the climber and screwing over the Ares Guild at the same time. He then shifts his attention to the mess in the room and tells his assistant to clean up. Our MC takes the remote and takes the console away. Eve sees the console disappear and starts crying. She begs the Guardian, promising to clean the room and everything, and begs him to give the console back. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Guild, a hunter sneaks into the castle to rescue the 2 knights and get rid of Hyuk Sun Woo. But then, Mi Ryong sneaks up behind her, asking him if he's from the Ares Guild. However, she doesn't care about it and decides to release all his anger on him. She leaps towards the hunter and punches him in the guts. Back home, our protagonist returns to his room after soothing Eve for deleting her saved data. He suddenly sees 2 hunters waiting for him in his room. His thought first goes to Shu Hyun, but realizes that he will return at dawn because of a shoot. The hunters tell him to not worry about his friends, but our hero tells them that they didn't have to come because he was going to visit them. Suddenly, the window breaks and our hero jumps out of it. The XS rank hunter throws his spear at our protagonist, but he grabs it. He tries to throw it away, but it suddenly disappears, shocking him. Suddenly, the hunter jumps from behind and attacks our hero from above. Hyun-woo checks the spear's stats and realizes it has the ability to teleport back to its owner. Suddenly, the papers start to fly in and trap our hero inside. He looks up and sees an ex-mage class, the highest-ranked hunter, fly in. The hunters are surprised to see our hero still smile. They jump to attack him, thinking he's just bluffing about his bravery. RMC is impressed by their speeds, but he's still faster than them. They attack with the spear, but he dodges it effortlessly. He takes his turn to swing a punch and throws the hunter away. The hunters use a smoke cloud to cover our hero, and another one sneaks up on him from behind. The attacker successfully lands a blow, throwing our hero into a corner. Our hero decides to use his incomplete ability. The hunters are shocked to see him disappear, but then suddenly, he teleports behind them and punches them into the ground. Hyun-woo used his distortion conversion ability to quickly move in an instant. However, his opponent gets back up. Our MC laughs at his opponent, but he had used his ability too quickly, and now his veins get tangled. Suddenly, a hunter attacks from behind, but our hero dodges it. However, another one attacks from the front. One explodes his mana spears to disrupt Hyun-woo's movement, while the other one sticks with him to stop him from approaching the one shooting spears. Our hero is impressed by his attacker's combination. However, his distortion skill still needs time. The hunter runs towards Hyun-woo, but seeing him stand relaxing makes him think it's a trap. He continues with his movement with the intention to stab our hero. As he lands the blow, dust covers the air. The hunter thinks he has succeeded, but then our hero grabs him from behind and tells his opponent about his durability. He smashes the hunter into the ground to give him a roller coaster ride. Shi-hyun returns only to find his home destroyed. He worries about cleaning up. Right then, Seo-yeon walks in, who's also surprised by the mess. However, she reassures her friend that the Hunter Association will pay for the compensations, and there weren't any casualties. Shi-hyun then gives her his phone to watch the footage. The video shows our hero throwing the hunters in the air and dropping them on the apartments. Seo-yeon is shocked to see the video but still feels relieved that the people didn't react negatively. However, Shi-hyun reminds her of the time our MC passed all the questions to him, and because of that, his phone has been buzzing endlessly, forcing him to change his number again. Hyun-woo leaves for Seo-yeon's guild to use the magic circle again and throws his friend an artifact to cheer him up. Shi-hyun sees the artifact's grade and cheers up in excitement. At Seo-yeon's guild, our hero reads through the news about Martin Brand. The hunter told our MC everything, that Martin Brand sent the assassins to kill him and he's hiding in a secret bunker. Hyun-woo replays the recording of the hunter spilling the secrets. Anya finishes the drawing, and our hero proceeds to teleport to Ares Guild's main office. Before leaving, he gives his phone to Anya and tells her to give it to Seo-yeon. The teleport activates, and our MC suddenly finds himself in a dark cave. He's confused, wondering if Anya sold him out, but then Martin Brand welcomes him from behind. Our protagonist plays with his confidence and reminds his opponent how he destroyed all of the assassins. However, Martin Brand reveals that all the knights were just baits to find out our hero's identity, like him being the guardian of the 9th floor. Hyun-woo is shocked. He checks his opponent's information authority, and seeing it hidden, he's shocked to realize that the Ares Guildmaster is a climber. Hyun-woo finds it convenient that he can solve all his problems at once. Martin Brands asks him if he knows the reason why he was called here. Our hero tells him that he was just too overconfident, like all the others before. However, Martin Brand answers that the place itself is a trap. Our MC jumps to attack his opponent. An explosion goes off, but to his surprise, the barrier stops the blow. Martin reveals that this barrier is different from the lowly magic. Another explosion goes off, pushing our hero away. As he looks up, Hyun-woo sees all the weapons hovering over him. The climber introduces himself once again as someone who studies reason and yearns for the essentials. To those without power, he was the holy object, and to those with power, he became their evil and defeat. To some, he was a guardian who gave them powers they did not have, but to others, he was a baseless destroyer. He was called Faker. The climber takes all the weapons and rains them down on our MC. Although Hyun-woo dodges the attacks, he fails to close the distance because of them. So he decides to use distortion conversion and disappears. However, with Faker's barrier, a half-cooked attack would just be wasteful. So our protagonist decides to start from his full blows. He wants to use the Asura neutralizing strike, but it would take time. So he decides to use something else. He closes in the distance and lands his extreme overlord's divine kick. The barrier shatters, shocking his opponent. He decides to use the kick once more. However, to our hero's surprise, the kick fails, and Faker grabs his leg. Faker is amazed by so much mana exerted in an instant. He swings a punch and throws our hero to the other end. Hyun-woo is confused, realizing that he can't draw mana. Faker reveals that the room is in a mana freeze state because he had been watching our hero for a while, searching for the guardian of this floor. Faker starts explaining how he found out through our hero's battle with the knights that he requires mana to use his skills. Our hero doesn't take Faker's explanations seriously and ignores them because the mana restrictions apply to him as well. However, Faker can still use his artifacts. He throws the artifacts at our hero. Hyun-woo tries to escape but realizes that he can't use his distortion conversion. One of the artifacts hits him in the shoulder, and his opponent warns him against his S+ grade artifacts. Our protagonist starts looking for an exit. He observes his opponent closely for anything freezing the mana and suddenly spots the spear in his hand. The spear is covered by a barrier, but the barrier is not strong enough to keep our protagonist out. He takes a leap. The artifacts rain down, causing him to step back. Hyun-woo then rushes towards his opponents and suddenly decides to use something he read in the morning. He decides to use his Heavenly Lighting God Kick without any mana available. As the kick lands, it breaks through the barrier, exposing Hyun-woo's opponent to attacks. He then takes a swing and disarms the Faker from the mana-freezing artifact. Faker is amazed to see our hero break through the barrier and decides to match up his skills. He draws out his Holy Sword of Hero Askaran with the ability to borrow a skill from other weapons. It's myth. The hero always fights with his comrades, gives the wielder a special ability. Suddenly, Faker gains countless abilities. Faker rushes towards his opponent. Our hero fails to evade the attack and takes one to the shoulder. The mana freeze becomes a problem as Faker lands continuous blows against our protagonist. To end it all, the climber draws out his original weapon, the giant word Gigantomachia. He lands his final blows and a blinding light takes over. As the flash clears, Faker is shocked to see our hero standing alive. The climber is impressed by his opponent's endurance, but he's still confident that Hyun-woo has no time left, so he asks our hero for his final words. Our hero asks the climber why he's trying to kill him. Faker answers that it's easier to make the floor extinct if he kills the guardian. The climbers destroy through floors to sit on the throne. Our hero is confused, not knowing what it means. Faker decides to end it. Our hero knows that the high-grade artifact will land a critical attack now. Suddenly he starts smiling. The climber thinks his opponent has gone crazy at the shock of his inevitable death. However, Hyun-woo didn't buy time for nothing. He decides to use his authority. Faker is shocked because the mana freeze is still not over. But then he realizes it's not Hyun-woo's mana. As our hero gathers his mana, he thanks his opponent for revealing his fighting style and releases all his energy. The blinding light takes over, and suddenly, our hero teleports to Eve's room. Faker starts panicking as he fails to detect our hero's movement coordinates. Suddenly, he sees the mana thread that connects coordinates. Seeing the thread not disappear, he realizes that his opponent is hiding in another dimension. Faker starts feeling proud of himself for seeing through the trick and decides that it's the end for his opponent. Meanwhile, Eve's room is transformed into the tower's first floor. Our protagonist's wounds have healed a little, but it's still serious. With no healing potion, Eve knows that a mana-freezing climber is bad news, and our hero only has 20 minutes left in the room. Right then, our hero announces that he has finished training and he should go now. Eve worries that he might get hurt again, but our hero assures her that this time will be different. Hyun-woo teleports back to the battlefield and faces off against his opponent. He laughs at Faker for being overconfident while standing over his own grave. Faker calls him out for blushing and threatens to finish him off quickly. Our hero takes a deep breath to look back on his martial arts training in the tower. Most of them were from novels, but what he trained for was not martial arts, but to become a concept. In the novels, they were called principles. However, at the end, he left without being able to learn the technique. The problem was that our protagonist had many masters, but none to ask the questions from. However, in the 6 hours he spent in the system room, our hero gained enlightenment. All his endless training of methods in the books and his fights against the two climbers with different fighting styles all helped him reach the principle of the Flora movement. Suddenly, our hero deflects his opponent's attack, leaving Faker shocked. As our hero continues to deflect all the artifacts with his bare hands, Faker's confusion continues to grow. The climber sees no visible changes in his opponent, and his wounds still remain unhealed. Even then, he can no longer believe that it's the same Hyun-woo from 6 hours ago. Realizing the unmatched strength of his opponent, Faker knows he can't toy around anymore and needs to finish off the fight. He draws out his sword, thinking that our hero won't be able to deflect, but Hyun-woo dodges the sword with his arm. He swings a punch and throws the climber away with his overlord fist. He then jumps on top of his opponent and tries to land another blow. However, Faker suddenly gets up and stands back on his feet. He grows angry, and our hero feels a strange energy. He thinks it's the mana at first, but then realizes that it's an artifact. Faker's Gigantomachia sword has the ability to bring out the stats of other weapons. He pulls out his giant sword, thinking his opponent will be scared, but our hero sees a child in him. The climber can't withstand the sword's power, which means he only has one strike to land. As he lands the sword with all his might, our hero just lifts his hand up and holds the sword back. Faker is confused to see his land stop mid-air. As he takes a look, he's shocked to see our hero lift up the sword with just one hand. Our hero leaps forward and returns all his opponent's might back to him. With his first stance of the Flora movement, he lands his final blow, destroying his opponent. Suddenly, the system notifies our protagonist that he has taken down the hidden climber. Hyun-woo notices a bag and picks it up. The bag is Faker's subspace to store items. He picks up the giant sword and stores it in the subspace. The system reveals the sword's stats. However, our hero finds it disappointing that he can't store infinite items. Hyun-woo decides to head back, but he has no clothes, no phone, and no idea of where he is. Right then, a knight opens the door to tell his guildmaster that it's time to head out. However, he is shocked when he sees our hero standing alone in the secret room. Hyun-woo jumps to the knight and smashes him down to get his clothes and his phone. 3 days later at the Hunters Association, the press gossips about whether or not our hero will expose Shi-hyun's attacker. Right then, Hyun-woo comes to the stage and announces that he has found the evidence behind the knights who came to attack Shi-hyun. He plays a recording of the knights revealing that Martin Brand ordered his assassination. The whole press is shocked. Our hero knows that the evidence might be put to question and assures everyone that he has the CCTV footage supporting the evidence, as well as more evidence to support the claim. He calls for the Aries Guild for an explanation and leaves. 3 days later in Gangdong District, the reporters gather around to question our hero about the Aries Guild branch manager's disappearance. Meanwhile, our hero tells his friends that they are in a tower whose 9th floor is Earth. However, his friends are having a difficult time believing that and the fact that their friend is a guardian who stops climbers. Our hero asks them to just accept it and ignore it, but he understands their shock and disbelief. Shi-hyun now understands why he went around stopping crevasses, and Seo-yeon wonders if he went to stop the climbers this time too. Hyun-woo answers them that he went to mess up the Aries Guild, but their guildmaster turned out to be a climber, so he caught 2 birds at once. The crowd noise starts to annoy our hero. Shi-hyun offers to talk to them because his friend is still injured, but Hyun-woo prefers to go himself. Our protagonist walks out, and as he opens his eyes, he's shocked to see his disciple bow before him. Our hero wonders why she's here all of a sudden, but his friends are even more shocked as Mi Ryong and her guards kneel before him. Mi Ryong tells her master that she prepared the personal guards for him, but he orders her to get rid of them. Seok Won Hyung recognizes that Mi Ryong is the Imperial Dragon, the guild master of the Imperial Guild. Our protagonist is shocked to learn that his disciple is in 5th place among the S-rankers in the world. When Hyun-woo taught Mi Ryong, he was just drowned in his concepts and thought he didn't teach them anything useful, and now he doesn't know how she got so strong. Suddenly, Mi Ryong bows her head before her master and starts apologizing. She starts crying about being unworthy and calling her master the sky. Hyun-woo yells at her to stop and hits her on the head when she doesn't listen. He starts getting frustrated. Shi-hyun calls him and then Mi Ryong, but she fires up in anger. He then asks them about their relationship, and Mi Ryong answers that she's Hyun-woo's disciple. The noise starts annoying our hero even more, and his disciple offers to kill them, but he forbids her. Right then, our hero receives a message and leaves for the Sungnae district, because the Aries Guild finally replied. So, our protagonist meets Coward, the co-guildmaster of the Aries Guild. Coward hates that he has to deal with the aftermath of the guildmaster. He assumes that our hero took down Knight 6 and the guildmaster, which speaks for his level of strength. But due to the increasing internal issues at the guild, Coward has no choice but to deal with the problems. He asks what our hero wants, assuring full compliance, but freaks out when Hyunwoo asks all the dungeons to be handed over to him. Our protagonist reminds Coward that they can get completely destroyed if he says more to the press. He threatens to expose their secrets, and seeing Coward's face makes it clear to our hero that his guess hit the target. He decides to show them some mercy and asks for 40% of the Ares Guild's dungeons. Our hero walks out smiling and singing in joy. He sees Mi Ryong bow before him along with her guards again and tells her to send them away. As he prepares to leave, Mi Ryong sees Coward in the reflection and orders her masked warriors to assemble. Meanwhile, Coward is suddenly tied up and abducted. As he opens his eyes, he sees the Imperial Guild's immediate unit standing before him. The guards tell him that he is the reason behind his kidnapping and threaten him if he ever tries to make our hero angry again. In the system room, Eve cries for being left in the cold tower. She couldn't even reach out to the Guardian because she can't call him for the next 5 days if a Guardian enters the system room. Our hero then asks her about the upgrades. Eve asks him to open the system screen, and our hero finds his agility increased. Other than that, Hyunwoo now has an upgraded personality display showing everyone's personality with an easy-to-understand display. However, for more upgrades, he has to rise above the mid-level authority. Our hero grows frustrated at the slow progress, and Eve suggests that maybe the climbers can answer his questions. She explains that there are climbers who climb the tower again after reaching its peak. Hyunwoo feels excited that those climbers might have some information about the tower. He remembers Faker talking about the throne, but our hero has no idea what that means, so he has to interrogate the reclimbers if he meets one. He then prepares to leave, but Eve asks him to give her a PlayStation before leaving. Meanwhile in Gyeonggi-do, Hanam State, our hero is shocked to see her disciple build a mansion for him. He asks her how much money she put into the house, but Mi Ryong tells him it's nothing. Our hero is confused about why this girl is showing him so much loyalty and wonders if she has some hidden personality. However, the personality skill shows her as the absolute loyalty type. So, he asks his disciple if she's perverted, which freaks everyone out. Back home, Mi Ryong feels sad thinking that her master is uncomfortable with her when our hero asks her if she has to go home. Hyunwoo assures her that it's not about that, but she has responsibilities as a guild master. But Mi Ryong insists on being by her master's side. As she walks out of the room, Soo-hyun asks his friend why his disciple was being all giggly about him. He then asks our hero if he is going to the USA about the International Hunters Association's invitation. Hearing about the S-Rank World Ranking Evaluation, Hyunwoo remembers that it's probably about the money. But since he's rich, he sees no point in going. However, Soo-hyun argues that having the numbers up in the world's ranking is honorable. So our hero decides to go since he doesn't have much to do. A few days later in the USA, our protagonist is amazed by the huge World Hunter Organization's land. His disciple offers to make him a park that big, but he shuts her up. Shi-hyun greets Liam, the member of the Supreme Council, and introduces him to his friend. Liam greets our hero, but when he extends his hand forward to his disciple, he's met with intense stares. Liam tells Shi-hyun that he's a fan of our hero's performance and asks if he has come to measure his ranking. With Hyunwoo's affirmation, he proceeds to lead them to the evaluation. Liam opens the door to the evaluation room where the S-rank hunters are ranked. He then points towards the orb that compares a hunter against other hunters to rank them. However, our hero was looking forward to a test of skills. He proceeds with the evaluation, and as he places his hand on the orb, the results freeze him in shock. Seo Yeon says goodbye to her hunters, and as she leaves, she thinks about how the monsters seem stronger and smarter than before. She quickly shakes off the feeling of overthinking, and as she reads the news on the phone about the third-ranked joining the event, she worries that our hero will cause trouble again. A few days ago, Soo-hyun and Seo Yeon had a meeting to postpone the Labyrinth expedition by 2 weeks. Shi-hyun argues that Won-hyun was okay with it as well, and they need a break. Seo Yeon asks her friend if he's going with Hyunwoo and proceeds to end the meeting. However, before she leaves, Soo-hyun shockingly asks about suggestions on what gift to give to a girl. Meanwhile, at the Ares Guild, Coward thinks about the guild's tanking share prices and Martin's artifacts disappearing. He bursts into anger thinking about his biggest problem, Hyunwoo. The door opens, and Coward gets annoyed, but then he sees Mason from the High Council walk in. Mason explains that he's here because he had a good relationship with Martin Brand. He takes a look around, and seeing the mess makes the situation at the guild clear. He offers to help Coward because he feels his friend would be upset when he returns to find his guild collapsed. All he asks is for Coward to follow his orders. On the other hand, Hyunwoo stares at the screen and gets angry seeing it fail to rank him. Liam is embarrassed seeing his system fail. Shi-hyun proceeds to try and finds his rank dropped to 172. Liam is confused seeing this problem for the first time ever. Right then, Mi Ryong walks in boasting about her master being the #1 and the sky. Hyunwoo feels upset that he came all the way for nothing, but Liam tries to calm him down by telling him about the anniversary food. Our hero enjoys the delicious food while his disciple notes down everything he likes. Suddenly, the third-ranked Tank Track Rock walks in. Our protagonist gets annoyed at the hunter's noisy talk. Shihyun warns his friend to not mess with this hunter because he's famously on the bad side. Shihyun explains that Tank misuses his power to do illegal business openly. He's supposed to be classified as a murderer hunter, but there's no official record for his killings. Right then, Tank notices our hero from the news and tells him to stop messing around, threatening to deal with him. Our hero returns the witty remark. Tank gets pissed off and takes a swing at our protagonist. However, Hyun-woo ducks down and decides to teach the hunter a lesson. He swings the Overlord's fist, smashing Tank into a wall. Tank gets back up. Shi-hyun realizes that this hunter's only talent is the indestructible immortality. The third-ranked hunter picks up a giant stone slab and throws it at his opponent. However, our protagonist smashes the slab with just his elbow. Tank sneaks up and lands a blow on our hero. Liam sees the destruction and worries that this fight will lead to empowering Mason's side if it continues. Tank boasts about his strength, thinking that he has defeated our hero. Right then, Hyun-woo gets back up, claiming that it didn't even tickle him. He then returns the favor with another punch. Seeing his opponent take his brunt, Hyun-woo gets excited to finally have someone to test his martial arts on. He takes another swing and knocks Tank out. Shi-hyun is impressed seeing Tank take his friend's attacks like that. As our hero stands on top of Tank, he realizes that beating the third-ranked hunter should now make him the third-ranked. Meanwhile, a master congratulates his disciple for completing his Hyolma divine technique and mastering the Hyolan suppressing madness easily. The disciple now has completed the martial arts of Cheonma and Jongpa, and now he wants to climb to the top and meet his first teacher. Seo-yeon reads the news of our hero's fight with Tank. Seok Won-hyun tries to reassure her that their friend can take care of himself, but Seo-yeon worries that his power could be disastrous. Suk Won-hyun remembers how Hyun-woo took down the rotten world of hunting and understands that our hero has multitudes. But then, Seo-yeon asks his friend if he knows anything about Shi-hyun because she thinks he has a girlfriend. Meanwhile, Shi-hyun checks the gift he bought and suddenly hides it when our hero notices something. Liam walks right in, and Shi-hyun apologizes for the destruction. After the fight, the banquet was cancelled, and the relief squad took Tank away. Our protagonist got the spotlight, and Liam convinced him to stay at the hotel. Liam asks to have a talk with our hero. Hyun-woo agrees and tells his disciple to stay back. However, seeing Liam steal away her master makes her hostile towards him. Mi Ryong silently walks around the room and sits down quietly. Shi-hyun wishes to get closer to her, but seeing her quiet makes him realize that it's unlikely. Seeing her joyful around Hyun-woo made him think that she was sociable. Shi-hyun tries to make a conversation and thinks about what Mi Ryong would love to talk about, so he asks her how she and Hyun-woo met. The Imperial Dragon agrees to tell him, but only if he tells her what her master likes. Shi-hyun starts thinking about what his friends like. Hyun-woo loved food when he first got out, but Shi-hyun then tells her that he likes money. Mi Ryong tells Shi-hyun they'll talk later and walks out, leaving him confused. Meanwhile, Liam and our protagonist sit down to talk. Liam tries to drag the conversation with small talk, but our hero rushes to the main topic. Liam explains that Mason, a top member of the association, receives his support from the US government and top-ranked hunters like numbers 1, 3, and 6. Seeing Mason slowly make moves, Liam asks our hero to be on their side. Hyun-woo returns to his friend and asks him about a bag full of gifts. Shi-hyun tries to make excuses that it's a souvenir, but our protagonist knows they're a gift. Shi-hyun then asks what Liam wanted to talk about, and all our hero tells him is that Liam told him he didn't have to do anything. Shi-hyun is left surprised seeing Liam just casually meet his friend, but he also knows that his friend has a 5th-ranked hunter as his disciple, and he has fought the Ares Guild, so his presence alone makes him a weapon. Shi-hyun knows that if there was a rumor of our hero siding with Liam, not even Mason would be able to look down on him. So, our hero contributes to their politics whether he wants it or not. He then asks about Liam's offer, and our hero excitedly tells him that Liam allowed him to use teleportation whenever he wants. Shi-hyun finds it strange that Liam just offered that, but our protagonist tells him Liam even invited him to attend the Top 50 banquet in 2 weeks and told him he can use teleportation. At the Ares Guild's main office, Coward informs Mason that the dispute has been resolved and thanks him for his help. But deep down, he wonders what the intention is behind Mason's help. For Mason, the Martin story was just an excuse. But Coward refuses to let his doubt ruin everything again and decides to protect what he can now. Mason knows that Coward has some questions. He pulls something out of his pockets and hands it over to Coward. He asks Coward to do as he says, and he can tell him how to control the guild members. Meanwhile, at the hospital in Washington, Tank struggles in pain. As he wakes up, he sees Mason standing before him. He starts screaming about Hyun-woo and how he could make his impenetrable body hurt. Tank believes that our hero used a technique similar to Mu Shin's. Right then, Mu Shin walks in, surprising both Mason and Tank. He tells Mason that he is prepared for everything, and now it's their turn. 2 weeks later, Liam looks out the window, waiting for our protagonist to come. However, Eden, the Grand Swordmaster, believes that Hyun-woo probably isn't interested, and Riley says he could have at least sent a note. Liam knows our hero is built differently, and he must have thought this entry was necessary. Liam walks out of the room. Eden and Riley see the politicians constantly engage in conversations. Liam talks to a few people, but then Eden drags him away to show him something else. As he turns around, he sees Mu Xin standing in the crowd. Riley is surprised because he hasn't shown up since becoming one of the top 5. Liam feels a strange uneasiness. A man walks up to Mu Xin and tells him he didn't expect to see him. Mu Xin grabs the man's head and smashes it in an instant, leaving everyone shocked. At the Orang Guild, Seo Yan asks Hyun Woo to make the teleportation circle someplace else because it's her guild. Our hero thinks that no one is at the guild but decides to switch places when Seo Yan tells him she strictly prohibited people from entering here. However, Anya feels upset that she will have to draw all over again. She has a lot of work to do, and redrawing the magic circle will take her 2 weeks of night shifts. But our hero assures her that she can draw in the morning and he will find her replacement for work. Anya goes back to drawing excitedly, and Seo Yan asks her friend if he has considered Liam's offer. Hyun Woo believes that the magic circle will be convenient to travel around the world since he's always on the move. He worries that his being late might cause casualties. Suddenly, someone bangs at the door begging for help. Seo Yan realizes that the person her friend kidnapped is still locked up. She rushes towards the door. The knight opens the door, but she smashes it shut. Our protagonist opens the door and sees the knight trembling in fear and promises to tell him everything. Hyun Woo is surprised to see that a month of lockup just got him trembling. Meanwhile, at the banquet, the hunters massacre the people around, smashing them into pillars and walls. Liam guides the civilians out, but seeing the hunters bleeding dead over the ground sends shivers down his spine. Suddenly, Tank jumps behind Liam to attack, but Eden jumps in with the sword and blocks the attack. Riley struggles to hold her ground and hurries Liam to run. Seeing the corrupt hunters kill everyone, Liam asks them why they are doing this. Mu Xin tells him that it's important for the destruction of the world. Right then, our hero walks in to save the day again. Our hero reaches the scene barely on time and asks Liam to explain the destruction. Mu Xin walks up to him and introduces himself, but our hero has no idea who that is. His disciple explains that Mu Xin is the #1 ranked hunter. Mu Xin threatens to get rid of our hero, which makes him wonder if he knows him. But Mu Xin explains that all he knows is that he needs to kill our hero to climb the tower and takes a shot at him. Our hero takes the shot in his hand and wonders if his opponent is a climber. He uses his information authority to check his skills and realizes that his enemy is not a climber. Mu Xin adds that he is not a climber yet, but he will be one. All he needs to do is leave his position to reach the end, and he needs to kill our hero for that. Mu Xin leaps towards Hyun Woo and swings a fist. Just as the fist closes in, our hero flips on his hands and tries to kick his opponent. But to his surprise, Mu Xin blocks it. Having met someone with martial arts, Mu Xin suggests going out and sends our hero flying through the walls with a punch. Mi Ryong tries to follow them behind, but Tank blocks her way. Our hero and his opponent go toe-to-toe outside. As he takes his attacks, he realizes that Mu Xin's power is no different than a climber. Realizing the stacks, he decides to skip to the climax. The mandalas surround our hero, and he suddenly feels the mana around him increasing. The Asura nullifying fist was not useful for our protagonist because it takes a lot of time. However, if it can stop the opponent from moving, it makes it worth it. The 10-step extermination is also not possible, so to increase the mana around him, our hero needs the one in the mandala. He gathers all his energy and rains it down on his opponent. As the Asura nullifying fist lands down on Mu Xin, to our hero's surprise, he takes it unscathed. Our hero is shocked seeing his opponent take the full force of his attacks. Mu Xin shows disappointment in his opponent's power and suddenly teleports behind him. He smacks our hero down into the ground and tells him that his moves are a mockery of martial arts. Mu Xin explains that everything about Hyun Woo's martial arts is wrong. His mana just overflows through his bloodstream, and he just simply releases it. Mu Xin reveals that he has practiced martial arts for hundreds of years, and our hero can't defeat him. Hyun Woo is surprised, thinking that his opponent is not human. He reads his stats and realizes that the first place shouldn't be possible with those stats. However, it's because of his item memory regression skill. Mu Xin reveals that he is a mortal human, but his skill allows him eternal time training. So, he practiced all sorts of martial arts by temporarily escaping his mortal existence. Our hero still stands confused. Mu Xin summons his mana to show his opponent the true martial arts. Mu Xin sends our hero in the air with his attack. He leaps up and smashes him back to the ground with the Cheonma fist. Our hero hits the ground, and before he could get back up, Mu Xin smacks him down with a blue dragon kick. He continues to attack our hero with different martial arts combos. To Mu Xin's surprise, our protagonist endures all the attacks. Hyun Woo knows his opponent is strong, and anyone else would have been dead already. He thinks about running away like before, but he knows that his disciple would just become the next target. So, he decides to face his opponent with his final technique. Just when he worries that his body won't be able to withstand it, the system suddenly notifies our hero that his durability will go up. Mu Xin decides to end the fight with his mysterious dragon-flying attack. But surprisingly, our hero disappears. Hyun-woo jumps from behind, taking his opponent by surprise with a Cheonma fist. As he punches his opponent, Mushin realizes that our hero's MP is now controllable. However, he's confused seeing that it's not even a reinforcement. Our hero decides to repay his opponent and returns the same combo of martial arts. He sends Mushin into the air with the Northern Sky Divine Technique. Mushin is confused, and our hero explains that he put all his MP into his eye to watch his opponent use his MP. Because of Mushin's extremely refined MP, our hero could easily understand his moves. Mushin is shocked to see his opponent learn skills just by seeing them. However, our hero doesn't just see. With all his fighting experience till now, the tremendous MP he maintained, and his wide Q1 channels, our hero made it all possible, and now he decides to test out what he has learned. Meanwhile, seeing Mi Ryong face Tank, Liam worries that she, as a 5th-ranked fighter, can't win against a 3rd and 6th-ranked combined. Tank makes fun of Mi Ryong's size and laughs at her, calling her master a dead corpse. Mi Ryong gets angry. She waited a while to watch her master's cool fight, but now she has to fight. Knowing that keeping her opponents alive will make them a threat to her master, she decides to kill them. The energy flows through her body, and she smashes the 6th-ranked hunter's head into the ground with just a kick. Tank starts trembling in fear, seeing the girl stare them dead in the eye. Mi Ryong turns to Tank and tells him that he should die in the most painful way possible for committing too many sins. On the other hand, our hero and his opponent continue to exchange blows. Our protagonist throws Mushin into the ground. Seeing his opponent get better at fighting, Mushin thinks it's a talent. He's confused because mortals can't do what our hero is doing because only those who truly master the martial arts can do it. Mushin decides to use all his power. The energy flows through his body, and suddenly, he transforms into the descendant of a demon god. Our hero is shocked seeing his opponent transform into a demonic figure. Mushin claims that our hero can't do anything like this, but he hasn't seen our hero yet. Hyun-woo reminds him that he's not the only one with the expert martial arts skill. He remembers the martial arts skill Cheonma showed him to win. However, back then, our hero wasn't able to copy it, but now he understands the principles of martial arts. As the energy flows through our hero's body, his opponent is left shocked seeing the form of the god of thunder. Meanwhile, Mi Ryong stands on top of Tank, who is annoyed that his skills keep disappointing him in front of everything. Mi Ryong smashes his head down and tells him that the skills don't matter. It's the martial arts that count. Hyun-woo and Mushin continue to exchange blows, but after a few blows, our hero can feel his body falling apart. Mushin knows he can't win like this. Our hero realizes that something is wrong with his Thunder God technique because it's consuming too much mana and his body is about to give out. Mushin feels his opponent is stronger than ever. Hyun-woo faces his enemy, realizing he can't waste any time. As he tries to do something, Hyun-woo notices the death spirit creeping towards him. He confronts his opponent hesitantly for using the clump of mana instead of martial arts. However, Mushin doesn't think his opponent can handle this mana flow. He uses his demon god extermination and releases all the mana out, thinking that his opponent won't be able to take it. But to his shock, our hero blocks the death spirit with thunder. Our hero now decides to teach his enemy some tricks. With a more improved technique, he releases the thunder god's second coming. The mana rains down on Mushin, and the system notifies our hero that he has defeated Mushin, who was on the reverse list to climb. The system increases our hero's information authority from low to medium and invites him to the system in 3 days' time. Withered from the battle, our protagonist takes a breath. He suddenly notices something on the ground, and when he picks it up, he sees that it's Akcheon's origin. The system reveals that the artifact is Akcheon's training secret. He followed a master to become a climber, and with his help, he was able to learn several martial arts in the artifact. As the only one on the list, Mushin has to gain the power of the labyrinth to use his ability. Our hero is confused, not knowing what the reserve list or the stone means. Suddenly, Mi Ryong rushes towards her master, and our hero finally takes a sigh of relief after his victory, while a camera watches him from a distance. Meanwhile, the creator is impressed to see the hidden climber and the newly born reserve be defeated by our hero. He believes that creatures evolve only when there's a crisis, when they struggle to survive. Their growth begins when they try to survive, and the creator believes that our hero is the crisis for the climbers. The creator wonders if our hero has ever met the highest-ranked climber. His assistant answers that the one on the reserved list was almost considered his match, but he too ended up dead before becoming a climber. The assistant doesn't think the Guardian will ever get to meet the highest-ranked climber because the old constellation gods are evading the 8th floor. The creator agrees, but he also believes that it means our hero will also meet his end soon. A day after the banquet, the whole world is in shock. News channels and social media are filled with clips from the event, showing how the top hunters' gathering turned into a scene of chaos. Reports spread that most of the strongest hunters were wiped out, and only a few survived, many of them too injured to continue their careers. Everywhere, people talk about the incident, and some admire the strength of the survivor who came out on top, calling him a hero and praising his unmatched power. The hero's name is seen across news headlines and billboards worldwide, making him the center of attention. While everyone seems amazed, the truth about what really happened is being covered up, and the media is shaping the story to keep the public calm. With so many powerful figures gone, the world's balance feels shaken, even if few are willing to admit it aloud. To distract the public from fear and confusion, the media turned Kim Hyun-woo into a global sensation, portraying him as a hero after the devastating incident. Within the Guardian Guild, everyone quietly accepted this manipulation, knowing that if the truth reached the protagonist, he wouldn't be pleased. So, no one said anything, keeping the truth buried beneath the praise. Meanwhile, in America, Hanarin visits Hyun-woo at the hospital and checks on his condition, asking if he's alright, to which our guy, who is still covered in bandages, replies casually, saying that he's fine and that winning the fight was enough for him. Narin was clearly worried. Also, Soo-hyun had expressed concern earlier and told him she'd handle the hospital paperwork. Left alone, Hyung feels the pain from the battle. Despite the healing he received, the after effects are strong enough to leave him uneasy. Plus, he admits to himself that an ordinary person would have been completely destroyed by such damage. Thinking back on the fight, he realizes how much he still doesn't understand about the enemy's technique. The idea of training again crosses his mind, perhaps returning to self-study through books or learning from someone. Then, an idea hits him that might help him grow stronger than before. 2 days later, inside Arb's space, Eve examines a mysterious object and wonders if it's the Akcheon source that once belonged to someone named Mu Shin, to which our guy confirms that it's called a labyrinth stone and instructs her to find a way to destroy it. Eve immediately begins her search and soon discovers a related clue. Further, she explains that the answer might lie inside a labyrinth dungeon, and the stone could be connected to a monster's mana core or something else entirely. But the clue indicates that a climber must clear the dungeon to move to the next floor. Hearing this, our hero decides to investigate further. Before heading out, he asks Eve if he has gained any new skills, to which she opens his status window, showing his updated information that Hyung is 24 years old and currently in very good condition. Most of his stats, including strength, agility, and stamina, have improved, and a new ability called psychology has also appeared. Curious, Hyung asks how it works, to which Eve explains that this ability allows him to read another person's thoughts twice a day, but only if he already has permission to access their information. Hyung notes that it won't be very useful on other climbers but still considers it a decent upgrade, and Eve adds that his notification skill can now almost perfectly detect the exact time and location of other climbers. Just as she's about to mention something else, the hero notices what looks like a game console in her hands. When he questions her, Eve defensively claims she doesn't just play games, even though that's what she's often seen doing, and insists that this time it's different and says she recently discovered something important. Miryung rushes into the hospital, repeating his master's name and checking on Hyung's condition, to which our guy reassures him, saying it's nothing serious, though Miryung still worries his recovery isn't complete and asks about healers and artifacts and vows to protect him if any harm comes. When our guy asks about Seo Yeon, Miryung explains she already left through a magic circle to handle paperwork and also warns that people are waiting downstairs, which Hyung realizes are reporters, and instead of avoiding them, he decides to hold a press conference immediately. As he steps outside, reporters crowd him from all sides, shouting questions and calling his name. Irritated, the protagonist tells them to quiet down, pushing through the crowd when one of them blocks his way, and the scene ends with reporter John Michael criticizing Hyung's behavior and mockingly suggesting that he should remind him how deadly can reporters be. Later, Hyung gets interrupted when John loudly accuses him of using the banquet massacre as an excuse to eliminate hunters he disliked. After hearing this, Hyung stays calm and tells him he hasn't finished speaking, but John keeps pushing, twisting his silence as proof of guilt. Growing irritated, our guy tells him to leave. When John claims the rumor came from the internet, the hero demands to know the source, but the reporter hesitates. Finally, Hyung warns that if John doesn't walk away within 30 seconds, the interview will end immediately. Nearby, Miryung observes the situation and quietly orders someone to handle John. Sometime after the press conference, Soo-hyun comes across an article claiming that Hyung left the reporter's questions unanswered, but surprisingly, told one to leave politely, which Soo-hyun finds hard to believe, noting how unusual it is for Hyung's tone to sound so calm and different. Soon after, our guy returns, and Soo-hyun greets him, asking about his recovery, to which Hyung says he's feeling much better and mentions he plans to visit a dungeon soon. Soo-hyun is surprised, reminding him that he hasn't gone on hunts for profit in a while, and wonders if he's after artifacts. After this, our hero explains that he only needs to confirm something and wants to join Soo-hyun's guild for the expedition instead of using his own. Soo-hyun points out that dungeons are dangerous and impossible to navigate without a proper map, agreeing that it's safer to go together. They decide to depart the following week, with Soo-hyun promising to share the location beforehand. While speaking, Hyung gently pats Miryung's head, causing her face to turn bright red. After seeing her, the protagonist then asks about another person's well-being. While reflecting on the past, Hyung recalls the time he was trapped inside the tutorial tower. During that period, he once tried to take on a disciple, and then quietly disappear, but the plan failed. After that, he gave up the hermit lifestyle. Later, a young girl approached him, asking to become his disciple. Since she was going through a childish phase where she wanted to stand out, he didn't teach her any deep martial arts, only basic training to help her grow stronger. He assumes she must be doing fine since there's been no troubling news about her. Shi-hyun notices Hyung lost in thought again, and shifts his attention to a new article, and it reports that John Michael, the reporter who caused chaos during the press conference, has gone missing after resigning from his position, to which Shi-hyun recognizes him as the same man who had provoked Hyung earlier. Reading the news, Shi-hyun feels uneasy and realizes that the disappearance doesn't fit Hyung's usual way of handling things. Still, he silently notes to treat the hero more kindly from now on. At Ares' Korean branch, the hero arrives to confront Hyuk Sun-woo. Sun-woo is already anxious because his company is on the verge of losing 40% of its shares to Hyung and knows he can't ask Mason for help since the recent massacre scandal has tied Mason's side to the chaos, and public scrutiny is closing in. To make things worse, Liam has started gaining political influence from the fallout, putting Sun-woo in an even tighter spot. When Hyung enters, he greets him casually, cutting straight to business. Sun-woo tries to stall, saying he'll negotiate to reduce the share loss, but our guy makes it clear that he doesn't like wasting time and instructs him to only answer with yes or no from that point forward. After hearing this, Sun-woo tries to protest but quickly realizes the danger he's in. Then the protagonist plays a recording in which a desperate voice echoes. A man known as Number 6 pleads not to be locked up again, revealing the cruel methods Ares had been using behind closed doors. Hyung uses this as a reminder of the company's sins and warns that refusing his offer will only drag Ares into deeper ruin. When he asks Sun-woo if he still wants to see this fight through to the end, Sun-woo breaks down completely and answers no. In Hanam City, Mir-young oversees a meeting about securing control over nearby guilds after eliminating outside interference. Her subordinates report that everything has been handled successfully, and she praises their efforts. Her subordinate quietly notices how much she's changed. Once expressionless and reserved, she now smiles openly, showing a softer side that surprises everyone. When she asks about the missing reporter, her men admit there was unexpected interference, and further explain that while tracking him, he was already gone, clearly abducted by someone else, and the only clue left behind was a mysterious symbol stamped onto a desk, almost as if the culprit wanted Mir-young to see it. Finding this suspicious, she instructs them to investigate the mark further. Before dismissing them, one of her subordinates nervously asks how long she plans to stay away from her position, to which Mir-young replies that when her master departs for China, she will accompany him and leave the guild's management in his hands. The subordinate is stunned because Mir-young, known for her cold distrust, has finally acknowledged and entrusted someone. Deep down, she thinks about her master and starts to blush. In Cheonhodong, the hero refers to staying at his own place instead of moving into the one Mir-young arranged, saying it feels more natural to him. When Shi-hyun visits, he checks how Hyung's deal with the Ares Guild went, to which our hero explains that it went as planned, and that the Ares situation will be wrapped up within 2 weeks, though he still needs to take care of something major before then, something linked to more than 40% of the guild's ownership. Through his psychology skill, the protagonist picks up hidden intentions, realizing that one of Ares' men plans to set up a suspicious device inside a dungeon on Mason's orders, and understanding that Mason's influence is behind this, he decides to step in instead of watching from the sidelines. At the same time, in the ghost sewer dungeon located in Uijeongbu, Ares executive Oh Seok-hyun moves cautiously through the area, relying on his concealment ability to avoid monsters. Moreover, he repeats to himself that all he has to do is bury an object in the sand, just as Mr. Coward instructed. Nervous but driven by the promise of promotion, he begins to dig. Suddenly, he notices something unusual, someone's shadow near him. When he looks up, he becomes shocked because Hyung is standing, holding the stone. Hyung arrives at the scene after 6 hours, finding Hyuk Sun-woo terrified and begging to be saved. His bodyguard is nowhere to help, leaving him more anxious. The hero mocks the panicked hunter, telling him to stop overreacting since they're already being lenient, to which Sun-woo realizes how bad things look, thinking Hyung appears to be the villain from the outside. Later, he grows more anxious, wondering how our guy managed to uncover everything. The protagonist senses his thoughts and remarks that since Sun-woo knows he's doomed, he should start asking for forgiveness. Seeing Sun-woo's frozen reaction, Hyung decides to explain how he found out, revealing a stone linked to their method and exposing that every member of Sun-woo's guild used the same technique. Then, without hesitation, our hero orders him to spill everything he knows. Moreover, he lifts the stone and threatens what it feels like to crush someone's skull if Sun-woo doesn't talk immediately. Sometime earlier at the Ares Guild, Sun-woo had been ordered to plant an unknown device in the dungeon Hyung was about to claim. Curious, he asked what it was, to which Mason explained it was a detonator. Further, he went on to describe a monster wave, a disaster from the early days of dungeon exploration, when unfinished dungeons released monsters into the world due to poor management. Plus, Mason's goal was to artificially trigger such an outbreak, framing the hero for negligence so the world would turn against him and Ares could seize the dungeon. Mason even promised Sunwoo insight on controlling a guild if things went smoothly. Back in the present, Sunwoo finishes explaining everything, to which Miryong finds it strange, pointing out that during that time, Mason and our hero had no connection, so there was no reason for Mason to go to such lengths unless Sunwoo was lying. Panicked, Sunwoo insists he's telling the truth and admits he also found it suspicious back then, but our guy quietly pieces it together, realizing Mason's supposed assistance had been part of a hidden scheme all along. Mason sits in Washington and thinks over how the plan fell apart. He and his allies used the Hasbound Guild to take control of many dungeons and recruited hunters like Mu Xin to set off a chain of disasters. The original idea was to place a detonator in an Ares dungeon and have a simultaneous massacre so the 9th floor would be destroyed. Everything was ready except the final step, but Mu Xin failed. After Kim Hyun-woo escaped the tower and began fighting the climbers, one by one those threats were eliminated, including Hasbound's forces. Mason admits he underestimated our hero and also misjudged how useful Ares' assistant would be. Even though many pieces of the scheme still exist, the key players were stopped when Mu Xin fell to the Guardian. Mason realizes his original plan failed but stays calm, revealing a backup involving a hidden organization he built. Additionally, he admits that after finding Mu Xin, he became too focused on him, fearing his plan might collapse if left unchecked. However, upon rechecking, he discovered Mu Xin had grown immensely powerful on his own, which secretly excites him. After that, Hyung appears and shocks Mason. Before this moment, Eve had already investigated Mason's past, discovering that before the first crevasse, there was no record of Mason existing. Moreover, he suddenly appeared afterward, involved in several suspicious activities, and was closely connected to Mu Xin. From this, the hero concludes that Mason might be a climber who stayed behind on the 9th floor and could be the one who told Mu Xin the truth about the world, to which Eve warns our hero not to confront Mason yet, since his body is still weak. Despite the warning, our hero finds Mason's location, and Mason is shocked by his sudden appearance, but Hyung tells him it doesn't matter how he got in. Using his information authority skill, Hyung confirms Mason truly is a climber. With the evidence already gathered, he declares the confrontation is inevitable and orders Mason to run, signaling that the real fight is about to begin. Hyung launches his attack with full-limit blue meteor kick, attacking Mason hard and sending him crashing to the ground. Mason tries to curse but is cut off as the hero prepares to end the fight quickly. However, before he can move again, his body suddenly freezes, leaving him unable to control his movements. Mason rises unharmed, revealing that Hyung has fallen into his trap. As our guy collapses, he's shocked that his body is not moving and feels stuck. After that, Mason mocks him for rushing in blindly without proper knowledge, saying he underestimated what was waiting inside, and further explains that he would have let someone else deal with Hyung, but now he'll handle it himself. Later, he introduces himself as Un Ryong Sa, the voice of the people, and reveals that the place Hyung entered is a limited area, a space he has been perfecting for years. Within it, Mason holds complete control, and no matter how strong our hero may be outside, he cannot win here. After hearing this, Hyung quickly realizes that Mason's power only functions inside this domain, confirming that this advantage is the key to Mason's confidence. The protagonist reflects that Mason is the only guardian he could never defeat. Within his limited area, Eun Ryong's abilities are nearly flawless, yet outside this zone, his strength greatly weakens. Plus, the domain's reach extends only about 200 meters, but luck is on Mason's side, as our guy has willingly stepped into it. Confident of victory, Mason pushes Hyung back and taunts him to share any final words. The hero asks how many climbers exist, to which Mason finds the question pointless, mocking him for wasting breath before death, and refuses to give a clear answer, explaining that new climbers continue to appear constantly, and even he doesn't know the exact number. Hyung then asks a final question about reclimbers, to which Mason explains that these beings are those who once ascended to the level of constellations, but fell from grace. Having lost their divine authority, they now attempt to regain it by climbing the tower again. In other words, reclimbers are former gods trying to reclaim their power. Further, the protagonist questions Mason's explanation about former gods, but soon realizes the conversation won't continue, and also Mason declares the talk over, claiming he has already shown enough mercy to someone about to die. Hyung agrees, calling such generosity excessive for a doomed man, and suddenly stands up, something Mason thought impossible within the limited area. After seeing this, Mason becomes shocked and demands to know how Hyung can move when his powers should be sealed. Later, our hero explains that he has already seen through Mason's tricks, revealing that Un Ryong's so-called ability merely manipulates mana, to which Mason panics and tries to force control, ordering Hyung to stop moving, stop breathing, and even kill himself. But Hyung resists completely. Through experience gained from his previous battle with Mushin, Hyung learned to detect and dispel mana that infiltrates the body's ki channels. It's the same technique Mushin used when blocking the Asura nullifying fist. Though the hero admits he still lacks mastery and channels his own skill, he launches a devastating move, the Overlord's Phantom Kick. Hyung assumes Mason wasn't anyone remarkable since no system notifications appeared after the fight, leading him to believe Mason escaped. Meanwhile, Mason, heavily injured and barely alive, survives only because he used teleportation. Though his body is damaged, he reassures himself that he can recover. Reflecting on his backup plan, Mason recalls how his underground Mexican organization expanded into a massive secret network spanning all of Europe. Confident that this power will let him rebuild from scratch, he steadies himself, just as a familiar girl arrives before him, reminding Mason to greet her, to which he notes it has been a while since they last met. Hyung presents an audio revealing Mason's true identity as Eun Ryong-sa and his plan to destroy the 9th floor. After hearing the audio, Liam is stunned and realizes the evidence can completely dismantle Mason's political standing in the International Hunter Association. Understanding its potential, Hyung proposes a deal that Liam should manage the media to prevent further interference from reporters. In exchange, this will help Liam eliminate Mason's faction smoothly, benefiting them both. Liam agrees, noting that once the recording is privately released, Mason's faction will scramble to cover it up, but the balance of power will shift once he becomes the top congressman. After sealing their agreement, the hero prepares to leave, but Liam stops him to ask about the recent mana explosion at Mason's mansion, to which Hyung admits Mason isn't dead yet. Also, he and Miryong found no trace of him, proving he escaped. Since no death notification appeared, our guy concludes Mason is still alive. Frustrated, he decides to avoid politics, but insists on tracking Mason down again, only to suddenly pause mid-sentence as something unexpected happens. In another location, Mason meets with Ha Naren. She asks Mason the reason for his tiredness, to which he mentions having handled some matters, casually referring to Kim Hyun-woo, the man he calls a nuisance who delayed their hidden operations, to which Ha Naren responds indifferently, prompting Mason to reassure her that their growing organization, built under her assistance, can still take control of the world easily. However, she remarks that she pities him for not realizing the truth. Before Mason can react, she strikes him, driving her sword into his chest. Shocked and in pain, Mason calls for his men, but none move. Later, he demands to know why she betrayed him, to which Ha Naren coldly explains that betrayal would imply they were allies, which they never were, and admits she once accepted his financial help to strengthen her plans, but killing him wasn't her intention back then. Over time, she realized his words and actions meant nothing, accusing him of lacking conscience and claiming she never built the organization Illuminati for someone like him. Mason insists Ha Naren is mistaken and that he's the true leader of the Illuminati, and tells him that the real leader was chosen long ago and that the organization was never his. It was created as a gift for someone else. As Mason stares at her in disbelief, she explains that he's dying because he tried to harm her master, revealing that her loyalty was never to him. When she orders his removal, Mason suddenly vanishes, leaving her stunned by his escape. Realizing he's one of those with special abilities, she composes herself and quietly vows to her true master that no matter what battles lie ahead, she promises to support and protect them at all costs. A system notification announces that a hidden climber named Eun Ryong-sa has been found and killed in Mexico City. Eve confirms his death, leaving Hyung puzzled since the timing feels off because Eun Ryong-sa had escaped earlier in good condition. After hearing this, the hero wonders whether the man died from his injuries or was killed by someone else but quickly dismisses it, satisfied that his mission is complete. Afterwards, Eve informs him that there are no more hidden climbers, and as Hyung prepares to leave, she excitedly asks for the latest VR equipment, saying it will help her perform better, to which Hyung awkwardly agrees before heading out. Later he meets Mi Ryong. Once everything is set and they sit in the car, Hyung instructs the team to move toward their next destination, the Labyrinth Dungeon. As the hero and Mi Ryong sit in the car, he decides they'll head out immediately, saying there's no need for the others to prepare since Mi Ryong alone is sufficient. While on the way, our hero checks his phone and sees breaking news spreading worldwide that Mason has been exposed as one of the main perpetrators behind the Hunter massacre and linked to Mu Xin's assassination attempt. The media confirms that Hyung's earlier plan worked perfectly, and he no longer needs to worry about Mason's downfall. Soon after, the focus shifts to their next mission involving the incomplete Ak Cheon's origin and the Labyrinth Stone, which still reads 0%. Afterwards, our guy and Mi Ryong enter the dungeon, where they're immediately gathered by enemies. Though Mi Ryong offers to handle them, Hyung confidently takes control and unleashes his overwhelming strength, clearing the monsters. Their teammates, including Sukwon Hyung, Seoyeon, and Shi-hyung, become stunned. Even though they're strong enough to fight off such enemies together, the effortless way our hero handles the situation shows just how far above them he truly stands. The porter thanks Shihyun for letting him join as a porter, while the group's live broadcast from the dungeon gains massive attention online. Viewers flood the chat, praising Hyung's strength and joking that he deserves the title of God of War or God of Smarts. Indeed, donations pour in as the audience watches his every move in excitement. Meanwhile, the hero notes that their progress has been smooth, and the labyrinth stone gauge has reached full capacity after clearing enough monsters. Moreover, he wonders why Levin had seemed so concerned earlier since the task turned out to be simple. Suddenly, Shihyun points out that they've only reached the 14th floor and worries about Hyung going further without a map, to which the protagonist brushes off the concern and teasingly asks Mi Ryong, his disciple, if she can read a map, only to drop the question midway. When a porter offers to join them and navigate the upper levels, Hyung reminds him that leaving would end his day's pay. Still, the porter insists on going because deep down he wants to earn money from the live stream and volunteers to lead the way, leading our guy to let him follow as they prepare to advance higher. At Naren's castle, a terrified man pleads for his life as Naren interrogates him. He has no idea why he's being punished, but Naren accuses him of angering her superior. He thinks that she's referring to Kim Hyun-woo as her teacher, but she's not, and begins torturing him, demanding answers, while he cries that he didn't know anything. After that, Naren slaps him and calls him a liar, reminding him that the news coverage about her teacher was supposed to remain tightly controlled. The scene then shifts to a past moment at ACC's joint lounge. The same man had been talking to his superior, Naren's master, expressing suspicion about how every article on the hero painted him too positively. Further, he questioned why there were no rumors or scandals when reporters usually chased controversy, to which Naren's master warned him not to dig deeper and to simply follow the public narrative, explaining that positive stories about Hyun-woo brought more attention and safer results than critical ones. When the man pressed further, he noticed something strange, a tattoo on his superior's neck, and asked about it, to which Naren's teacher casually brushed it off, saying it was new while hiding it. Back in the present, Naren reminds the man of that conversation, pointing out that he now understands what that level of information control was for, and declares that protecting her teacher's reputation is part of her duty as a student. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to where the labyrinth stone gauge finally reaches full capacity, and a system message informs that the power of Akcheon can now be used once, though its effect is weakened due to the original owner's failure to ascend. After that, the protagonist decides to use Akcheon's source, known as Cheonma's sword, and tells Miryong to handle the dungeon while he's away, and also he must meet someone. Later, entering a new and vast area, our hero realizes the scale is greater than he expected, and begins searching for the individual he came to find. On the 8th floor, a dragon lies defeated before Wukong, stunned by the immense strength hidden within a seemingly mortal body. Wukong mocks the creature's shallow judgment, declaring his true identity as the great divine sage, the one who once conquered the heavens. In another place, Hyung suddenly comes face to face with Cheonma, who surprisingly recognizes him. Confused, our guy recalls that Akcheon's ability was meant to send him into an item's past to learn its martial arts techniques, but Cheonma's reaction suggests otherwise, hinting that this place isn't just the past, it's an alternate dimension. When Cheonma asks if he's also dead, to which Hyung reacts with disbelief, demanding an explanation, but Cheonma ignores him. The protagonist tries to stay composed after being ignored, piecing the situation together and further realizing that after using Akcheon's source, he successfully traveled to the past to meet Cheonma. However, something is off because Cheonma shouldn't recognize him, yet he does. Remembering that the source's power had weakened, our hero wonders what kind of space he's really in. Deciding to focus on his goal, he asks Cheonma to teach him martial arts, to which Cheonma dismisses him bluntly, refusing to cooperate. The hero persists, but Cheonma grows increasingly irritated, telling him to leave. Holding back his anger, the hero admits inwardly that it's understandable that no one would want to train the person who once killed them and tries one last time, asking to at least see a few moves, but Cheonma curses at him again. Finally losing patience, Hyung snaps back, offended when Cheonma mocks his past words about being a 10-second teacher. Afterwards, the hero challenges Cheonma, provoking him to face that same shitty talk once more, to which Cheonma remains calm, noting that Hyun-woo's mana presence has grown stronger since their last fight. After that, the hero taunts Cheonma, reminding him of his past defeat and challenging him again. However, Cheonma confidently replies that losing isn't an option anymore since Hyun-woo can't kill him. Refusing to back down, Hyun-woo insists they can test it right now. After that, our hero attacks to prove him wrong, but Cheonma easily dodges and knocks him down. Hyung is stunned, realizing he couldn't even track his opponent's movements. Indeed, Cheonma notes that he's faster and stronger than before. When Hyung tries again, the result is the same, and he's effortlessly defeated. Confused, the protagonist wonders why the fight feels completely different from their past encounter, when he could at least fight back. After this, Cheonma explains that during their previous battle, his power had been restricted by a limitation, and further reveals that both of them were climbers then, and such restrictions bound his full strength. When Hyun-woo questions this, Cheonma continues, explaining that climbers in the tower are not ranked by pure strength, but by their achievements. Whether they're heroes who save the world or villains who destroy it, the tower makes no moral judgment. Instead, it only measures accomplishments and assigns rank accordingly. The protagonist quickly grasps that once a climber reaches the mid-level, their strength becomes limited, to which Cheonma acknowledges his understanding and explains that his combat ability was once equal to that of a top climber, but within the tower, his power was restrained due to a lack of achievements, just like when they fought before. Without warning, Cheonma ends the conversation and tells Hyun-woo he'll demonstrate martial arts moves since he's feeling bored, but only if Hyung can kill him. By how sudden it is, our hero accepts the challenge, saying he'll only beat Cheonma close to death since killing him would defeat the purpose of learning martial arts. What's more, Cheonma tells him to fight with full strength and not to worry, because dying here wouldn't mean dying for real. Confused, Hyung asks what he means, to which Cheonma simply replies that he will need experience to learn. The battle begins, and the protagonist experiences his first death. Mi Ryong tells our protagonist's friend that the hero disappeared when he touched Cheonma's sword. He looks at her and she looks like someone abandoned their puppy and chooses to ignore her because that's how she is whenever Hyung's not here. Suddenly he sees two masked men, and when they get spotted, they leave instantly. He cries as he can't even rest back in his own place without being interrupted. Then, he decides to get back right away when the house gets rebuilt. Meanwhile, Mi Ryong looks at a bag and hears some voice out of it. Curiously, she leans towards it and the voice speaks to her, that she can have some of the power too. Mi Ryong is baffled, and inside the bag is the master of the demons, the mysterious god of chaos. Back to Cheonma and our hero, where they are in a battle. Not even a battle, our hero is getting beaten up by Cheonma. When he gets thrown away, he asks Cheonma for some martial art tips, as he has already died 100 times in this dimension. Before our boy could do anything again, Cheonma informs him that all his attacks will be useless on him. Cheonma is someone who can't abandon martial arts even if he has some flaw. He's sort of undefeatable. The protagonist gets on his feet, saying there will be a day when he will be defeated by him. Cheonma takes it for granted and calls it a bluff. But our guy decides to focus. He focuses on beating him. Then he decides to run in his direction with all his power aimed towards him. Cheonma is about to dodge it but notices the difference. He continues to run even after getting killed. Meanwhile, in our protagonist's mind, he knows he's not the one to give up, no matter what it takes for him to win. Despite hearing Cheonma's mockery towards him, he's unstoppable. Cheonma realizes the place they're in isn't real, but a space where people who failed to climb wait for another chance. In this zone, death doesn't happen, and the system removes the meaning of living or dying. Normally, only the original owners can enter, yet Hyung somehow got inside, which Cheonma at first finds hard to believe. At first, Cheonma thinks Hyung's request to learn from him is ridiculous, and plans to just tease him. He sets a harsh condition and means to refuse seriously, treating the whole thing like a game. After killing our guy many times, around 100 times, Cheonma feels a strange change. The repeated losses stop being satisfying in the same way. Instead, he sees our hero's eyes shift from anger to awe. That reaction unsettles him, so he stops to take the matter seriously and begins to teach with everything he has, no longer holding back. Cheonma keeps killing the protagonist again and again and at first enjoys it. After 200, then 400, then 700, and later 1,000 defeats, he breaks Hyung's moves and expects him never to rise. Every win feels satisfying, and he also mocks Hyung's weakness. But our hero keeps getting up. Even after thousands more deaths, Cheonma notices something odd, a small, growing worry he hasn't felt since he became a climber. After killing him nearly 3,000 times more, that worry becomes clear because our hero simply will not quit. The refusal to give up makes Cheonma uneasy and sparks a dangerous respect. Angry and determined to end it, Cheonma vows to destroy Hyung so he can no longer rise. But in the end, the hero answers and stands again, proving he won't be finished so easily. Wukong sees Blue Lion arrive and sarcastically asks why he took so long, to which Blue Lion brushes him off, saying he's finished his task. After that, Wukong complains that it's been 3 months since he defeated the Lizard Guardian and wonders about the others. Soon, White Elephant and Big Phoenix join them, explaining that they've completed their parts too. One cleared the west, and the other handled the east. Wukong mocks them for taking 5 months to finish such simple work, even though they already hold powerful ranks. After hearing this, Blue Lion responds that Wukong's fame came easily, while their recognition was only for being the feared 3 demon kings of Satadong, known for monstrous deeds. Blue Lion for killing a legendary beast with his tusks, White Elephant for invading a kingdom and devouring its people and king, and Big Phoenix for destroying armies by the thousands. Despite their terrifying reputations, Wukong accuses them of making excuses for being slow. Later, Wukong tells the others to make a plan before climbing again and divides the regions. He will head south, Blue Lion takes the north, White Elephant goes east, and Big Phoenix moves west. Moreover, he orders everyone to finish their tasks within 2 months because he has other business. The scene shifts to the Administration Bureau, where team leader Ma calls Shi Hyun with an urgent warning. A calamity alert says a disaster will strike Korea in 3 hours, and they need Kim Hyun-woo's help immediately. Meanwhile, back at their place, Mir-young sits down sadly and stares at the sword. Time here isn't measured by days but by how many fights happen, and the battle keeps going. Hyung taunts Cheonma about a move being fake, to which Cheonma answers with tired shock, noting how many times he's already killed him. Cheonma has already beaten our hero 5,000 times, and can't understand how the hero keeps fighting without a break or losing hope, especially after Hyung's progress reset around his 3,200th death when Cheonma used the Thunder God technique. Still, Hyung's eyes shine with the same fire, and he keeps coming back, landing attacks and teasing Cheonma each time. Cheonma growls that Hyung is a mad dog, to which our guy cheerfully takes it as praise. Later, Cheonma's feelings changed. At first the worry he had long ago fades, then it turns into respect. He remembers rising from nothing to reach the top, meeting many fighters, and usually breaking their spirit by destroying the skills they trusted. Yet this one person, Kim Hyun-woo, keeps coming back no matter how many times he dies. The hero dies again and again. Cheonma begins to teach properly, and explains that to perform true distortion conversion, you must follow 3 clear steps. Martial arts are not about flashy tricks but about the roots, footwork, how lightning power sits inside your mana and shaping that power into one reliable form. Moreover, he warns that copying moves by watching is not enough. The lightning must be contained in the fighter's own energy and shaped into a basic form that works in any fight. The protagonist keeps practicing through countless deaths. For example, after the fight recorded as his 8,002nd fall and later his 8,423rd, and notices each attempt is different from the last. Bit by bit, he learns that this steady repetition and focus is the real strength of martial arts. After countless deaths, our hero reaches the point where Cheonma instructs him to destroy the very form he has mastered. From this moment onwards, every technique and flow of energy within him will move naturally with his body. Through thousands of repeated deaths, more than 10,000 times, Hyung finally grasps the truth. His mana now flows evenly through every channel in his body, forming lightning on its own. Each motion carries layers of techniques that hold the fierce stance of the thunder. God's skill with limited energy, and his control becomes flawless. Cheonma acknowledges this and explains the final stage. The protagonist has learnt and broken the Thunder God form. Now he must craft his own martial art. Previously, Hyun-woo would have dismissed such advice, since all his former teachers were illusions, and his training had always stopped where answers ended. But now he understands. With full awareness and resolve, our guy steps forward at Cheonma's command, ready for what comes next. In the American Association's control room, people scramble as evacuation efforts fall into chaos. Officials estimate about 10 minutes remain before the disaster hits. At first they weren't alarmed because Kim Hyun-woo was their main responder, but then calamities popped up in Thailand and Mexico too, and finally one was detected in South Korea. Now there are 4 simultaneous disasters, and only one Kim Hyun-woo, so the team asks how each country is handling things. Thailand and Mexico called in major guilds and top-ranked hunters, while the American side prepared its own heavy hitters. The priority is the local calamity first, since the hero lives in Korea. The trouble is, he cannot be reached because he has been gone for about 1 month, and keeping that secret is no longer possible. With no idea when he might return, Shi Hyun and his team decide they cannot wait any longer and must act together. At the end, Shi Hyun turns to the Imperial Dragon and asks what she will do next.